what we talking about. You know what I'm saying? I need them to know.
Right.
But according to that box right there, we alive. What's good with y'all people? It is Friday night, 8:01. So guess who's almost on time tonight? This guy. It is the two-time ATL's hottest DJ, your boy, and his and mine, the God DJ Agony, also known as Dr. Dope. And yo, you know when I got dope people in my corner, I bring them back for more. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes with the level of dopeness that happens on Friday nights, an hour just ain't long enough. I mean, y'all saw a couple weeks ago the interview with Music Monk damn near went 2 hours. And could have possibly gone 2 hours. You know, phones that start dying and computers getting hot, but that could have went 2 hours. That just lets you know the type of people I have in my camp, in the building, sitting on that side of the screen. And y'all recognize this brother, but just for the sake of any new fans or any people that might have hit their head in the last couple of weeks, introduce yourself, brother. Tell them who you is and what you do, man.
What's going on, fam? I'm Dr. Quincy L. Brewington, also known as the High Scholar. So I'm here doing my thing as always, talking about hip hop, motivation, some educational psychology, a little this and a little that.
Did. Now let me tell you this. This what you didn't know. I actually had somebody reach out to me a couple of days ago. Big shouts out to my LF and happy birthday. She'll be in the building shortly. Asked me, what was your doctorate in?
Okay. My doctorate is in educational psychology, where I focus in on applied cognition and development. Educational psychology is a field that we kind of merge education and the theories about learning with psychology, what's going on in the brain, a little bit of neuroscience, a little bit of theory and cognitive development focus. I focus on theories of human motivation. So um, I was really trying to figure out what was going on in people's brains while they were trying to learn, what would maybe inhibiting them from learning or stopping them from learning, and what's some key tools to get people going. So that's what my
Mm,
PhD is in. Is it's in education psychology, applied cognition and development.
okay, so it sounds like my psych degree on steroids.
Absolutely. So I got a lot
Right.
of that traditional psych stuff, and I mean some of the traditional education, um, what it Piaget and development of people, Erickson, that kind of stuff. I studied Bloom's
Mm,
taxonomy and what for that's worth, and Maslow's hierarchy, for what's
ah,
that's
good,
worth. You know what I'm
good
saying? All those
stuff.
kind of things.
Right.
Again on steroids.
Right. So
Yep.
I should probably go back to school, but yeah, no, I'll be hanging out right here. Be hanging out right here.
You got it, man. You got it. You got it. You
You
know
know
you
what
know
I'm
you
saying?
can.
Yeah, indeed. So, my people, I know y'all seen the threads, y'all seen the posts, y'all seen the reposts. And of course, at this point, I know y'all seen the memes. Memes are out of control. Who is making these memes? Let's start there because the memes
Uh,
happen so quick. Like
well, it's almost
literally, you become web junk 1 minute, and literally within a 15-minute window, the meme gates open, and you are now a meme.
well. You
Who?
gotta remember, man. With all this technology, like as soon as it hits, as soon as an event happens, people are trying to attract attention to their page, man. That's one of the building blocks of any motivation is going to be gathering attention on a set event. So something that big happens as the current event of the time, for what it's worth, there's other things going on in the world, but of course,
Plenty.
this is the biggest stage for the movies and those things. So it's their season for it. And so as a result, man, you get people really churning out some of the, funniest and thought provoking, if you will, or what they think is thought provoking to get that attention to their pages as well. So, hey, I
Yeah.
support it as much as, because this is where it all starts. It starts with the initial attention grabbing event and the initial
Mhm.
attention grabbing, situation.
Definitely. But yeah, so the situation that happened at the Oscars, Will Smith rushing the stage, you know what I'm saying, hitting Chris Rock. Because I got a few theories on it myself. Actually, more so too, but we'll get into that as the night progresses. But tonight's show, yeah, and see when you on the dope show, I'm gonna brace y'all for this one. And when you on the dope show, I have a media platform and I have a very I think on so many different planes, so many different wave levels, and I'm either here, there, or nowhere, or everywhere at the same time. So tonight's is gonna be about public nigga moments.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now let's get it. Let's just go into the definition of a nigga moment. You know what I'm saying, and how that relates. So a nigga moment, as you know, as according to the Boondocks, who
Aaron Magruder.
according to Eric Magruder, who put a name on this because this shit been happening
Right.
for eons. But it is when a certain stimulus, usually outside, causes a normally rational person
Hmm.
to act like a nigga. Now, before we get into the people with their eyebrows folded up and like, man, why he say it like that? Let's define what a nigga is. Because a nigga is not, and I repeat, is not racial, cultural, gender. It's not based on any one of those. A nigga is just somebody who does ignorant shit.
Come on, DJ. Come on, DJ. Like, we gotta call a spade, man. Like the whole fact of them being nigga moments, man. Like for me to engage this conversation in good fun, I gotta like know, you know what it is. It's our people, man. It's our people who,
Well,
like you said, who normally be engaged, who would normally be rational and logical, but because of a pride that's been placed on us for various reasons, those situations now get um, a different microscope for those actions, or at least that's
true,
how we perceive them. So,
true. But I will say this: we didn't corner the market on nigga moments.
we haven't cornered the market at all. No, no, we haven't. But what I'm saying is like you got to start with the OG. It starts from this place of having an event go much further than what we would say is logical or rational because this person happens to be from a certain cultural background that doesn't take that or has to, let's call it, let's use some of our, use some of our sensibility, slang, like, you got to keep face, you got to hold face, you know what I'm saying? I can't let you do that, bro. It's off the principle. Like,
Right.
off the principle of me being right here with my significant other, and my people watching. Like, nah, bro, like people from back home watching me, man. You can't, like, there's a whole course of people who are kind of like, I mean, you slap dude on TV, he got to slap you back at some point in time. He got to dust you up at some point in time. He owe you one.
He owe you one.
He
But I
owe
mean,
you one. So,
the thing is, nigga moments don't always happen in cameras, in front of cameras.
right, right,
Because,
right.
like, I mean, how many people done had that family get together and somebody got too drunk? Remember $20 from 1988
Yeah,
that you ain't paid me back, but you
yeah.
got this Cadillac. You done had two wives since then. You done
Hey,
borrowed
man.
more money since then. I gave you weed.
And
The
you
drink
didn't
you drink it,
and you didn't pay for Pawpaw funeral.
you didn't put in on the funeral. You drank it out my bottle right there. The cup in your hand came out of a bottle I bought. That is the brewings of a nigga moment. It's about to happen. But
When I was thinking about the show, I almost felt bad in understanding like part of nigga moments that we talking about comes from a cultural pride that like it's something good in there. Like it comes from a good place, but it oftentimes again because of logic and reason and rationale, like it goes left. It's taken to a certain level or degree that may not warrant the initial affront.
right. But see, here's the thing though. It's one of those things that we don't know because we're not there. White people have nigga moments too.
Well,
I'm
see,
sh- I'm sh-
we have a whole. The
I'm
reason why I had to
sure
root it. Go ahead.
there
I'm
is
going.
a trailer park probably in the next, let's see, it is 8:10 now. I give it another 3 hours. In a trailer park somewhere, probably in Covington, there will be about 30 natural ice cans empty and four white guys beating the hell out of each other in some cutoff shorts and rebel flags hanging somewhere above over a girl. That is
I mean,
still a nigga moment.
you gotta understand in America's tossed salad, in America's salad bowl, we touch and we've been mixing vinaigrette for a long time. But I think all these cultures have a particular root to where these moments will come from. So while nigga moments may be from my community and may like we know when those are coming and what certain topics may come for that, when it comes
Mhm.
to other cultures, and I won't use their epithets because I'm not part of their group, but whenever it comes to those other groups who like no, whenever I see, NASCAR culture and these other cultures, they have their moments. We've even seen, like, I hate to say it, but Karen moments for middle and upper class white women who have these meltdowns in public that most of us kind of hate to say it accustomed to, but also try to avoid being around because they're so
It,
extravagant and beyond logic, reason, and rationale.
it just makes
That's
no
why I had to
sense.
say like, no, while we want to be good and say everybody has nigga moments, no, 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 my people, when we're in public, have these certain moments that it comes from cultural pride and also may also have a certain level of don't do this in front of other folk kind of thing.
Right, right. Because I mean, when other cultures have their version of nigga moments, we'll just pretend like that didn't happen and we'll keep going with what we're doing. But being black, we have to tell each other, like it has to be a think tank type conversation, because we can't just we got to keep these from happening. And
Because
maybe
we
we can't eliminate them totally, but at least minimalize it some.
Because I mean, one thing that we deal with too is a certain big word for Elmo, decorum, that is
Mhm.
expected. You know what I'm saying, amongst our people, and I mean that dates back to the I don't even got to say the buzzword, but it dates back to the conditions that we were placed in when the country was being built. So there's being a certain way that we must dress and cut our hair and walk and talk and be in the presence of other people as well as the presence of our own people. So that's one thing that I was saying about the cultural pride, where part of it is not bad necessarily to me from my own political view, where it's like no, there's a certain decorum that we have amongst our people where no, when we amongst family, yeah, you can enjoy your libations, but man, don't get all looking at where you start talking about all the family business and wanting to fight family over it. That's what makes it a nigga moment. Like, bruh,
It
this is your
becomes a nigga
cousin,
moment,
this is
right?
your brother. Like, y'all could have talked about this way before the cookout. Like, you got his number. Why is now during the big July 4th cookout with all the fireworks do you want to have this side conversation and end up in this kind of moment where you want to fist fight your brother?
I mean, them Walmart firecrackers were not enough.
Huh?
But after this gallon of Jack, oh, we finna have some fireworks.
Oh, bro, I forgot about. I don't even think about that money, man. I don't even need the money, but it's off of principle. Whenever I start getting juiced up,
Right. I feel like you trying me.
because you won't give me my money. That's the whole. That's what I start feeling all of a
But
sudden.
but the whole time you just been talking about this new car you got. You done took everybody up and down the block in it, showing them how it's voice activated and all that. Yeah, he
I mean,
massage seats. The
I
car
think
got
what we do.
massage seats.
What we're doing right now also in our moments happens as well, which is the escalation. There's a certain escalation that once you've been around us a while, once you get beyond your teenage years where people can take advantage of it, and maybe even your early 20s where you still got a little bit of gusto. Like it's hard
Hmm.
to get me and you in some of those moments because kind of like no 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 I saw the escalation coming. You gotta no 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 don't try to gas this up. Don't no. You know what I'm saying? No, no, he owed me the money, but I don't need to ask him at every family reunion.
Nah,
He know he owed me that money.
just let it
Or
go.
she knows she shouldn't have said that, but we don't need to actually have a conversation every time we see each other. So,
Right.
um,
And if need be, it gets to the point to where to avoid those nigga moments, you avoid those functions.
at all, at all.
You
Because
know.
one thing about us as we start to age, we start understanding like it takes one thing. Aaron Magruder was wise on when he laid it out, and even in the episode was, hey, it takes a formula for this moment. It's a formula for this moment. Like no, no, no. It takes two parties and a certain kind of powder keg for this to jump off.
Mhm.
So as soon as one person is not into it, and we've all had a situation where like I remember middle school and high school bumping shoulders and you bump shoulders with one dude, y'all look each other up and down. What's up? What's up? What's up? You want something? You want something? But then you do it with somebody who, we've all been in smart classes where they be like, bruh, just watch out. And it's like, okay, I'll watch out. And they walk past you like, oh, that don't work. Oh, you're not a gusto kind of dude. Okay.
Right. Interesting thing happened. So I'm in East Atlanta Village at a I'm in a club in East Atlanta Village one night. Anybody know anything about the village? It is a very mixed, diverse crowd, right? So normally you bump into a dude at the club. Let's just say you in a very not in the village, you somewhere in the hood. You bump into a dude at the club. If you don't want to fight him, your best bet is just to keep walking. Because if you turn around and y'all look at each other, it's starting to build in.
Right.
Interesting thing happened to me one time. I'm in the village. White guy, drunk, drinking, having a good time, bumps into me, steps on my shoe. And now I got beer on my shoulder. He's wigging out like, "Oh, dude, sorry. Matter of fact, how about this? How about I go buy you a drink? I'll buy you what I'm drinking." And next thing I know, we go to the bar and I'm like, "Yeah, what?" He said, "What he's drinking." "Yeah, dude, it's no problem, man. Yeah, here you go. All right,
Hmm.
get me another one." And I get one, and now we're drinking buddies that quick. And I'm like, that
Yeah.
I'm sitting there holding this very, very cold tasted beer, by the way, thinking like, yo, anybody anywhere else that would have been a nigga moment.
Yep.
But in his clumsiness, this time instead of it being a fight, I got a free beer.
Right.
This is interesting. I can get used to this. It got to a point where I started just sticking my leg out to see what happened.
Right. I mean, that's just being a different. It's really interesting being different, different cultural containers. As one of the scholars that I follow would say, you learn these different ways. Like I was when I was talking about this, with someone else, and I was like, hey, it's really interesting that different different topics or concepts will initiate these moments in different cultures. That's why ours is a little special. Ours sometimes it can we've had these nigga moments and no communication was said before. We are now in the moment. Like it was just like, no, I
Hmm.
don't like that. I don't like how I didn't like how they was looking at me. No, we was over here doing our thing, and they just kept
Hmm.
eyeballing us. I'm trying to figure out what's going. Do they got a problem? They got a problem we need to solve. So we have
Right.
that in our culture of how we look and engage each other without with nonverbal communication. Like what you just checking us out. Okay, cool. That's just making sure
But
y'all
but
was
you
good.
but one of the universal things when you know it's going to be a problem, this right here.
Yeah. When I see
Uh,
that's when I see those arms at like a block party or something like that, or an outside event, and it's not like a cordial. See, those one thing about our culture is everything means different things at the same time. So
facts.
those
Because
arms could be, hey, I ain't seen you in a minute.
yo,
You
you
wait,
just got out of jail. Where'd you get
you're
out,
right.
nigga?
You
What's
way over there,
happening?
and it all could be like, what you want your issue? What's up? Like what it is. So
Yeah, body language tells the story too.
and again, in our culture, like one thing in this conversation, we're focusing on our people. Um,
Right.
for us, it could be we found ourselves in it arguing back and forth and having to go pull off from a gas station, all from a look, all from a one person going in and out of a door, not seeing the other person as things are going on in their day. So um, whew, man, it's sometimes it can be exhausting. And I remember much earlier in life being like, bro, I just want to avoid these moments. I just don't want to talk to nobody. It's like, nah, it's not everybody. There's a whole way that you can get out of these moments by just not engaging it. It's just like, oh
That's
nah,
true.
bro, I ain't even on that.
That's
I'm
true.
not even on that. I'm not even here to fight people at all. I'm just here to get my juice.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things that he pointed in the episode where, a nigga moment can be ended by just walking away.
And that's what happened. Like when everybody's trying to be like, hey man, this is a crazy nigga moment. It's like, no, nigga moment didn't happen. Nigga moment, we all saw the moment, after we got a chance to see what happened when we thought, oh, this is about to be a nigga moment. Oh my god! But we kind of also knew based on how these two, what we expect as black men who walked up on one to another, and like neither one of them squared up. Nobody looked like they live in a space where violence is normal and natural anymore.
Right.
So, I just knew it wasn't going to necessarily turn into it. We're framing it as such because they are what we perceive as very wealthy black people who we think you shouldn't do this because you have money and esteem.
Right. I mean, and at that status and at their age, we talking about two brothers, what, 50 plus? Both of them are over
Yeah,
50.
yeah.
Like at that moment, shouldn't we be too old for nigga moments? But no, nigga moments don't see age as a differentiation either.
No, not at all. Like you can man, with the internet and all these video applications that we now have, um, I've seen these moments in church with people, men and women who are 2 and 3 times my senior, where it's like, man, why y'all get Pastor Clyde going? Like now y'all know Pastor Clyde and what's name don't really see eye to eye, and
Right.
now they done got suckered into a moment that their grandkids got to see. That's one thing too, where it's like, no, no, no. The older these people get, they really try to avoid it because it's not your best time. It's not you at your best moment.
No,
Even I'm gonna say that
exactly.
amongst all cultures, when you have these moments where you having a Karen moment, a nigga moment, or you know, uh, whatever racial epithet moment you want to put in there, it's never going to be your best moment for anybody in the situation.
No,
Nobody is.
if anything, it'd be your worst moment.
It's going to be a part of your worst moments. You might be able to up it with some other things. It's not going to be your absolute worst because like one thing about these moments too is like we in our culture, because this is the one I know best. It's more about the shame and guilt of the moment. Like, no, 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 bro. Like, you
Right.
are this
I ain't do
person that
that.
we see in this esteem, or who you know in that space you're not supposed to do that. So we have
Right.
this kind of again public kind of um, hey man, we in the local pizza shop, man. Let's get your pizza and go, bro. Just get your pizza and go.
Right.
Ain't got to be all that, man. Like everybody be in line, just to get your pizza and go. It get busy in here. I know it get busy in here and it get kind of hectic, but everybody's get their stuff and go, man. You know how it goes. No, it could go like that today, but today is not my day.
Right, right, and be a lot of times you just be like, you know what? You could almost feel it in the air. Like if you've ever been in those situations, if you privy to have been in nigga moments, you could feel it when like God forbid the Asian dude across the counter act like he don't understand what the dude's saying. He keep telling you he want damn box of switch sweets as a
hmm
gas on pump six, and you can't act like you hear what he's saying. It's just like, oh, this for to
Um,
get bad.
so you went across culture. I've seen it in bill paying places where they're just not understanding this person's slang or their appearance, so it's making them pay their water bills. They're making it more difficult. And this
Right.
person's like, "Yo, I got the money. I have all the information that you need. All you need to do is do your job. All you need to do is do your job, so I can
That's
get on
it.
out of here. Because I usually don't even do this. I don't even be up here paying this bill.
I don't even like paying bills.
It's not even my thing, bro. I want to give this money to somebody else.
Right. I'd much rather be getting me some swishers at a goddamn 10 on pump nine and get the hell on.
Hey man, I was like doing something other than this.
Anything other
Again,
than this.
my people, we have a certain way about us, between the cultural pride and wanting to do, have leisure and do our time, do what we want to do with our time that kind of intersects with this. Also, having bad days. We have sometimes as a people more bad days than others because of our place in this country.
Right. And
So
particularly our social place.
right. So I find most of the moments that we have that slip into this can sometimes, intersect with moments in our lives that, hey man, I'm taking the L today in life, and the last thing I need is you thinking that I'm about to take an L right now in this grocery store line.
Man.
Man, I was in actually. This is a quick segue. I was in a Chuck E.
Uh-huh.
Cheese this past week, and I was wondering, like, all this time I've seen fights between adults and Chuck E. Cheese. What is it? And I say the first thing is Chuck E. Cheese has a beer and wine license. I didn't
Facts.
know that.
Yeah.
So I was like, so this is what is similar to stadiums and everything else. This is the problem number one. Okay, you got people who may be a bit intoxicated, and then you involve children and their children's enjoyment or fun, like a birthday party. Oh, this is
Mm-hmm.
a powder keg waiting to happen.
Oh, this is gonna blow. This
Oh,
is
this is gonna blow at some point in time. I worked at a YMCA water park with none of the beer or wine, and just because your children's enjoyment is a part of this, it is
definitely.
now volatile.
Right, right. Miss Shea Butter checking in the building. What's going on with your shoulder? If
Shout
anybody
out.
has not seen it, definitely go back and look at last Friday's show, and then go to last Saturday's show to where DJ Agony. It was like an exchange. She did dope on Friday. I did chat it up Saturday. It was perfect exchange. What's going on with you,
Beautiful,
Miss Shea Butter?
beautiful.
But yeah, and the thing was so. This is the question that's kind of just been circulating around all week. Was Will wrong?
Uh, See, this is the part where we start talking about these moments that I get the most critique because honest moment, I find myself in these type of moments often because of not only my intellect but my sense of cultural pride, even about myself. So I have a hard time when these moments, appear and people are like, no, this person was wrong. I'm like, wait. Let's hear their side out.
Right.
Let's hear why they were willing to engage in this moment without, with the understanding that they're probably going to be embarrassed or shamed on the back end of this. So
Absolutely.
um, I have a hard time saying he was wrong for responding how he did. I was impressed with um, how the entire situation played out. So from him leaving his seat, being able to get to where he got to be able to do what he did, and then get back to his seat, this is all situations where I'm like, oh, I've learned something new every day that this is possible that people can do this. I would think, even with Will Smith or whatever, like, maybe somebody was, hey, chill, what you doing? Like, but hey, I thought people would do that before Kanye West, and Kanye West proved me wrong. So now we at a different level. Well, so maybe at the Oscars they should really start thinking about like you need to stay in your seat. If you leave your seat, we got security for everybody.
And you would think that, like, where was security? And
Uh,
my my cousin, big shouts out to my cousin. What up, boy? What up, Derek? But he said, bro, it's a room full of rich people. They don't expect nothing like that.
and
Yeah.
that's now we're digging into some of the truth that is stranger than fiction, where it's kind of like no. Even us talking about having these kind of incidental moments, like when I said middle class and upper class, there's even a class above that in American economic statuses that we're like
Hmm.
no, we expect middle class and upper class caring, but we don't expect elite live in Beverly Hills to have these kind of, or even beyond that, to have these kind of public meltdowns. So we don't expect people with this kind of opulent wealth that um, he has a movie that he's getting an award for tonight, and he's probably has another movie coming out tomorrow. Like he doesn't have a you know problem getting movies,
Right.
so we don't expect this kind of behavior. This behavior again, when we start talking about the people who really are involved, they're usually on the bottom rings of this social economic class. And oftentimes these situations present themselves because they have very little and they're trying to take pride in what they have.
Right.
So why are you
So
doing this?
so wait a minute. So let's just take what you just said. Let's take what you just said now. They have very little. They take pride in what they have.
Right.
So now let's wrap that around this situation. So we're talking about somebody who financially, from my eyes, he has it all.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
on the, they say, say money don't make you happy.
Hmm.
Rich people and happy people aren't always the same thing. So let's just take that.
Go there.
So someone who doesn't have a lot and wants to take pride in what they have. So is that going to say, and I'm just throwing this around, that the wealth isn't what's making them happy? It's her.
Um, I wouldn't even go that direction with it. That's not where I thought you were going to land because it was kind of like, no. If your life has been like his life over the last year and a half, even beyond that, um, would you see yourself as a person who's been exalted with a whole lot of esteem? Like, we know what we like to think of as far as the esteem we have for him in the movies and shows he's been a part of as an actor. I don't put these people beyond acting. He's been a actor that has been um,
Hmm.
placed in a certain high esteem, but we all know um, how people who may have esteem in the social realm may not find that same esteem at home. So we don't know what it's like to be who he is in his regular everyday life. So sometimes you find people who they know they have a certain social esteem or high class, also find themselves in some positions where that is not being respected or taken to the same degree of seriousness, and somewhere they really want to be seen that way.
So it sounds like you said what I said backwards. So that
Hmm.
she's not the she's not the pride that he's protected. It's more so him and his image.
I mean, what else? What else are you doing this for?
$1 million question.
Because I mean, if you're doing it for a certain pride in the group, from what I gather, I don't know these people again. Like, no,
Right.
they've been trying to show this, united front despite the storm and turmoil. I told the storm kind of couple um,
Hmm.
throughout the last year and a half, 2 years, however long, you've had the
Mm-hmm.
red table. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't sit here and blow smoke like the red table is a space in which he or any person like, any black male has really been exalted or held at a high esteem necessarily. Um, and I haven't watched
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of the show, but from what I've seen, that's not necessarily their bag. So, um, this is the first time in a while we've seen him in this kind of light, like this kind of like using his movies like Wild Wild West, Bad Boys, you know, this is the first time in a long time I was like, damn, Will Smith kind of big. Like I forgot he kind of got a size. Like Will Smith was good 6'3", 6'4", right?
Yeah, about
Like
good 6'3", 6'4".
he played Ali. He was like 230. He's like, okay,
Right,
yeah,
right.
you should be
He
doing this, bro. Like
yeah,
like
yeah. You know, I
like I
remember.
think Chris Rock like 5'10", fam. Like
Right. I remember when he hit 50, he started getting the dad bod and whatever. And next thing you know, come back, a good 3 to 6 months later, Will's jacked. He's like he finna go do
right,
another boxing movie.
right.
So it's like, okay, well, so he still does this.
Hmm.
And we talking about a guy who was always a natural athlete. If you remember, and this going back, and I'm gonna date myself on this one. Anybody remember MTV Rock and Jock?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
used
I
to have
remember watching MTV hooping.
the celebrity basketball game. They would have a rim that would sit about 6 feet above the regulation rim, and it was worth 10 points. Will Smith is the only person I ever seen hit that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the guy's an athlete. He's an athlete, which
I'm
keep
go
going.
for it. No, go for it.
Which goes into like it kind of goes into my next. Well, I have a couple theories I want to touch on before I get to my next one because my next one's gonna go. It's gonna go down a whole nother street. But it's one of those things to where I've seen the common thing that I've seen all week is that he was protecting his wife.
Mhm,
So when I hear the word protecting, I'm gonna automatically go to physical protection, standing in front of a bullet, moving car, whatever. She wasn't in no physical harm, so there's that. Then I go back, okay, you can protect people more than in the physical sense, psychologically, emotionally, what have you. They were laughing, and you see the moment on her face where the joke clicks,
yeah,
and
yep,
she's
yep,
like, "Oh, that's what he means."
yep.
He's being heralded on the internet as being this ultimate protector for his wife. But somewhere in my head, I feel like she did not protect him
Oh
because
yeah, oh yeah.
and the reason why I say that is because when he jumped up, she's supposed to be right there to stop him. Because
Because
in what we saw in Boondocks, nigga moments often end with the police.
right, right.
Now, different time, place, setting, she should be like, nah, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Just chill, just chill, just chill. She let him go up there. She's clapping. They got the
Yep.
whole nother camera angle
Hmm.
that's actually behind her. She's clapping and having a good time. But let's just say when he went up there, he hit Chris, and then these three dudes with the earpieces and the black on black suits with the black shirt come out of nowhere. And 6'3", 6'4", rock and jock
Like
Ali, it
three and
don't
three
matter.
D and
Right. They come out there with some for real Dudley boy shit. It's like, oh, she didn't try to dead
this is
that
what
shit.
happens when you run up on the Oscars post.
Oscar stage fact. So I feel like in that instance where he's been heralded as protecting her,
Right.
she didn't protect him.
Hey man, you done said something essential here, man. I wish I could put up all the exclamation points and drop DJ Flex bombs on what you just said because literally in a lot of these moments we talk about the children's enjoyment.
Hmm.
This is these moments oftentimes involve either children or significant others. And one way as you get older and in black culture you avoid this is making sure you're around people who protect you from these moments. So whether it's your spouse, or even certain homeboys where all it takes is them putting a hand and being like, hey fam, think about this. Let's look at the situation for a second. I know you're breathing heavy right now and you really want to get into it. This moment is right here on the precipice, like you right here on the edge of this cliff, and you could jump off.
And you
But
ready to hit that button.
listen. I'm here to
Hmm.
let you know there's another way. Like we can just keep having our night, hey, look, if you take two more breaths, you won't think about this again. And that's sometimes all it takes. Like you said, like even the him making the motion of going to the stage and being protected by her saying don't do that, we'd have been like, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like he's tired of this. He was serious. He would have done something, but he still got respect for whatever situation he's in and who he is, where he's not gonna be like just put out there like that. He's not gonna be allowed to um, taint his image if that's what the situation is, or do whatever because she's gonna help them navigate the situation too. I again, you hit the a golden nugget with that one. Like, nah, in these situations, um, men and women oftentimes have to like, hey, hey, sweetheart, let her have that. Like, she's having a good time. This her only night doing this, and I know she's being loud, she's being obnoxious. But if we just keep it moving, we'll go somewhere else to another restaurant. Like, we ain't got to engage with her. And the
Right.
same thing should happen vice versa, where it's like, yeah, I know this joke kind of stinging me, but I don't think it stings me enough where you should get up out of your seat and do what you're about to do.
And that's the thing. And I feel like partners, pairs, like when you're married, that's a supposed to be a lifelong partnership.
Right.
We look out for each other on the highs, the lows. You know what I'm saying? We meet right here in the middle. When I'm here and you here, I bring you here, vice versa.
Hmm.
But if the police had came, or had it escalated into a nigga moment to where the police get involved, because that was simple assault in any term. That's simple assault.
Right.
What was you
I
had to
mean,
stop that part of it? So
there,
your ego is bigger than him going to jail, possibly.
because what you're asking for is I can protect you without being your guard dog. That's what you're really speaking to. I should be able to protect you, your image, your pride, and your esteem without being a guard dog that has to bite everybody who jumps this fence. Because
Right.
if that's the standard or threshold, I promise you, like especially within the culture that we have, like I love my people. I absolutely love my people, but I also know my people. And being out in the public around my people, um, sometimes there's things gonna happen that I'm gonna need my partner to say, look, I hear what's happening around us, and I know in a traditional situation, I know how you're feeling. But what I need to happen is that we can go home or we can transition from this situation, and we don't exacerbate this and escalate this to a place where we now are on WSB TV or or Fox News
We are
trying to
trying.
figure out like, bruh, what really happened. And literally, as an adult now, I see how my parents and my grandparents are watching the news. Like, I've seen all these situations before. They could have just gone home. You like, why are they talking to the TV like this? Like, what you talk about, Mama? Like, no, they couldn't have gone home. They had to handle the situation. That's why you got the police out there. It's like, no. This all started from a conversation or argument or, a simple situation that escalated to now, this and clearing out a whole building.
Right. Right. So Miss Shea Butter check said time she ain't never protect him. She has only embarrassed him time after time.
Ooh.
Well,
Mm,
we add
mm.
another time to that. Time after time after time.
I mean, and these nigga moments, bro. Let's be honest. You'll get some fans. You get some people who will claim that you were real with for doing this, fam. Like, nah, I feel you why you did that. But for anybody who's been in it, and again, I've been in plenty of them. The number of people saying that to you never amounts to the like shame and embarrassment from the people. Like, it's going to be a mixed bag, and usually you're gonna feel the full brunt of it. Like,
Right.
bro, you
I'm
could have
but
avoided this
I'm the one
altogether.
I'm the one that has to live with it.
I gotta live with it. That's one thing that I had to
Probation
learn from her.
fees, probation fees, court calls, all them people that's patting you on the back, the attaboys and the high fives, they ain't gonna help you cut none of that.
All the opportunities that I would have had would have had not had this social engagement with this person. Like there's situations that I don't even know what could have materialized, but because of this situation that I didn't get protected in because I was trying to save face. Now that's all gone, and like while the jokes are cool, like one thing from these nigga moments and any kind of moments that we have, the jokes will fly. They're
Oh, they're gonna
always
be
gonna be there.
they're gonna be ghetto gold.
Oh my goodness, they're always going to be the punchline for somebody's joke. But I mean, now end up in another moment as a domino effect from the last moment.
Right. And one thing about particularly we speaking culturally,
Hmm.
there is an unwritten rule about the comedy club that you do not sit on that front row.
Right, right.
You do not, because you will be subject. You will be subject. And it is a you dealing with, I can't even say a 50-50. You dealing at about a maybe a 65-35 at that point. That he might catch a glance at you and say, "What? What you laughing at?" And it's like at that point, you have to digest all that. So you mean to tell me now this unwritten rule about sitting on the front at a comedy club just got violated because, and they went at a comedy club, but a comedians up front.
But that's
And
I mean that's a comedy club rule, but I still niche that a little bit into black comedy club rule
oh, absolutely,
because giving
absolutely.
people the dozens about who they are and their personal appearance, like I just called it the dozens. It comes from a cultural place that's just us, so we know this,
Hmm.
but um, we also at this current juncture, I think, um, have a different relationship with the dozens than we've had prior to because oftentimes it doesn't been taken out of our where we usually would have done it, which is school for bullying. So it's kind of like, no, 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 we're not really. You're not hearing about things that, what I would say, thickens your skin. Like, no, no, no. Before I left my black community, my black family and black community, it wasn't too much people could say to me to really get me out of my skin because I heard it all. And it's usually from people who look like you, so they say stuff that they heard people say about them too. They just want you
Hmm.
to make sure, like, nah, you prepare for the world. I mean it from a loving place because we all look like this.
Right.
So, I find it difficult that he was in this situation. It's like, come on, man. Like, yeah, I thought it came with celebrity that people kind of say this stuff. I guess this is, you know, you went beyond some of even the cultural norms that I'm used to, where it's like, nah, he get a little more leverage. I guess I don't know.
A little bit,
You
and
know, this is this is the
and
first
it's
joke at the cookout, bro. Like, just hey, take it on the
oh
chin. It was cold, okay.
oh yeah. I'm like, damn. Again, he said, "Hey, first offer me a beer, nothing before you come in with the jokes." You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's one in every family. Sometimes it's more than one, but it's at least one in every family that as soon as you hit the yard, oh goddamn, here come your ugly. And it's
Man,
just
don't even
like,
joke with him, bro. Don't even joke with him. Remember what happened last time? He slapped such and such because they were joking with him.
I
Don't even
always
joke
be
with
like,
him.
man, what's up, Aunt, man? What going on with you? Aunt don't hate you. It's not malicious,
No.
but that's just how Aunt move.
Yeah.
I have goals and aspirations once I hit 50 of being Unc. I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy on the grill, have a drink surgically attached to my hand. You know what I'm saying? When it empties, it just slide another one in.
Hey, I think there's a place for this. I mean, man and woman, because it's not just up, but man and woman in every space where they're like, no, 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 we got to have a certain pride of what we're doing. We got to have a certain, esteem. If we don't have it, nobody's gonna have it for us.
Right,
So that's why you got to protect those people and be like, hey, man, there's certain situations where we got to kind of compromise and be amicable so we can move forward. But I'm always one of those voices kind of like, nah, man, we gotta hold ours. You know what I'm saying? We gotta hold ours. If nobody gonna hold ours, then if we don't hold ours, ain't nobody gonna hold ours for us. So,
that's true.
some on certain situations, you gotta not, allow people to, as he saw it, disrespect you and speak about you in unsavory ways while you're just, sitting front row.
Right,
So one thing about the comedy club that yeah, there's an unwritten rule you shouldn't act out of character during the show, but we also know whether it be Atlanta, Houston, hey fam, these jokes done went a little bit too far. I will see you after the show. When that's being said, the comedian even knows. All right, so I might as well get my jokes off on stage because there's another space that where I'm gonna have to answer to this.
right, right,
So
right,
I might as well get all of it out
right.
and plan my escape.
Right, right. So let me ask you this question: Was the how you say, did the crime fit the punishment? Was that joke warranty that reaction?
Again, I'm not a good one for this because um,
Because I've heard worse.
I, there's a whole lot of mixing of settings and spaces nowadays that is not always good. So I do believe that there's certain malicious jokes that I've heard from all different types of comedians, all different cultures of comedians that I'm like, maybe that's a little bit, maybe that's distasteful. You know what I'm saying? That's not my bag of jokes, and I wouldn't support a comedian because of that reason. But then there's like like comedy's not always gonna feel good, especially when you're at the butt of the joke.
Fact.
So um, like I don't think that I know within myself like it's not gonna be seen as cool to do that. Like no no no, no matter what kind of space you're in, if you're in a space where the quote unquote MC of the event is making fun of you or making fun of your date or like and you go up there and affront that person and assail them, You know what I'm saying? Like, people are not going to be like, well, I mean, he had it coming. I've rarely heard that. I rarely heard like you have to hit a certain threshold. I don't think he like approached the threshold yet. People
Mm-mm.
try to make a case for an accumulation effect, and I mean, I'll excuse it, I guess. But I'm not one like one person. Like again, I end up in a lot of these moments. One thing I had to learn from it is like, no, it doesn't warrant the situation. But guess what? I felt like I need to address this so that everybody else around here know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I
But
did it.
eh,
I took something small, made it big, so everybody knows that's why I'm starting with it.
right, and I'm not sure when this happened. I'm not sure when this joke was told, but what's the as a comedian, she's Australia. I want to say it was Rebel Wilson, kind of chunky
Hmm.
chick. She
Hmm.
made a joke that, in my opinion, was worse than the one Chris Rock said. She said something along the lines of Will Smith won the award for best, what was it, best actor or whatever, right?
Hmm.
But she said he should have won the award for getting along with guys that getting along with other guys that his wife was seeing.
I mean, but did she say that joke in front of him in the front row? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's the part. See, that's the thing. I don't know in the setting that joke was told. I got it via audio, and
right.
I'm like, wow,
So
that's way worse than what he said
well, the escalation in these nigga moments oftentimes has to happen in rapid speed. That's one thing Aaron McGruder kind of also showed too.
in
Is
the
like it
moment,
got to
right?
happen
Mm-hmm.
instantaneously where
Mm-hmm.
we skip all the steps and now we find ourselves in a moment where um no, I'm now already engaged in a physical altercation
We're here now.
that involves all the things
Mm-hmm.
that I need to go all the way through this physical altercation.
We
Like
we're here now. This was
we here
called
now
what's called fast
and
travel.
right and once I or somebody else now physically engages the other person, now we all the way there.
We there.
So I was again surprised that there was. I'm not used to seeing physical altercations go that direction. So somebody gets a chance to like that's what Cat Williams talking about. Like I just saw somebody walk in the club, smack somebody, and walk out the club, and nobody from the club came out the door.
Mm.
And that's what I was like. No, no, no. Like where Chris Rock homeboys at? Like there's nobody in here who like rock Chris Rock who be like, hey fam, like nah fam, like you can't just smack my homeboy on stage like
Where
that.
was Pootie Tang in this?
Like fam, like I understand you upset with a joke, but fam, but like nah, like this, you just not you can't just smack. Sometimes again, it turns into a bigger situation because like people are like you can't do that. We we can't let you do that because we let you do that now. Everybody else thinks it's the thing to do
Oh yeah,
to this
and
person. No,
that's when we get into that slippery slope.
yeah, and it's not necessarily this gonna happen to every MC. We as from my culture believe no, we just gonna always do this when Chris Rock is MCing something. And if we want Chris Rock to have the same respect that he used to have, he could go for MC things and say provocative things and things that maybe distasteful, maybe lose some fans. But he shouldn't get slapped for it every time. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why we end up in these kind of moments. So another moment may come when somebody else trying to address somebody who wants to do this Chris Rock again.
Right. I see. Then it's gonna be a problem.
Right.
Right.
You not Will Smith.
Right.
That's what the whole moment's gonna be about. Like, hey fam, you not Will Smith. What you doing?
Right. And you know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be that slippery slope where somebody's gonna slide down and get themselves hurt trying to pull a Will Smith. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, to me, comedy clubs have always been a volatile space for these because of the nature of comedy. Comedy is
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes taking, it's one of those literary devices that is taking something that traditionally would be not funny and poking jest at it. Like, no, no. Like, we forget sometimes as a literary device what comedy is. It comes from like satire and irony and all that kind of stuff that is
Mm-hmm.
rooted in real and material, but starts to go to this kind of, foolish and things that you poke just poke fun at. So um, people and human beings like which I find people are finding less funny now are generally a part of what we poke jest at. Like we poke fun at animals, we poke fun at other things, but I'm starting to see a little bit while Gallagher, the guy who hit the watermelons for his
Right.
comedy routine. I'm seeing
Right.
how we got there at some point because like if people can't take a joke, you know what? This shit's funny. Like here you go. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Right.
people gonna come on stage and slap me for saying something about them who came to a show, I might as well just smash watermelons for the next hour.
Right. You know what I'm saying? We fucking up fruit tonight. So Shea
Yeah.
Butter asks, do you think Chris Rock will recover from this?
Oh man.
He
Oh, absolutely.
he already he already
Chris Rock.
has.
Yeah, Chris Rock is already like I saw a comedy special or comedy tour on my timeline and everything that you know I'm not sure we would have seen the same rollout had this not happened.
I'm gonna be
This is why people feel like Hollywood always plans stuff because Hollywood doesn't see any momentum or attention or energy that it does not take advantage of. Like this is going to be a whole rollout, and the main joke of his comedy special is going to be about this.
right.
Like
So and even to add on to that, I saw where the first show in Atlanta sold out in minutes, and
right,
so they're already plan. What the second show's already been planned. They're in the process of planning a third show. This is just for Atlanta. We ain't even talking about the rest of the majors. We ain't
right,
talking about New York, Cali, DC, Florida, Houston, Chicago. Like outside of those major cities, Atlanta is with, as they say in space, two in a possible right now.
right. I honestly think that people in our community, when I think about how we are historically, we might end up venerating like Chris Rock for going through this situation and like, hey, he didn't respond. He said what happened, and um, he could have like even beyond what Will did, he could have escalated the situation where it's kind of like, all right, man. Like while I'm as a person who doesn't care what other folk think, I just don't want to see my black men on TV like engaged in full fledged fighting. Like y'all been in movies, y'all could have like maybe even handled this even more personally. Shoot the one behind the cameras, you know what I'm saying? Like let
Hmm.
TMZ get the grainy footage that they always get trying to tell us everybody business. But
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like we know how to handle a situation where it's like, hey, I'm gonna see you one day. I'm gonna see you later. We'll see about it. You know what I'm saying? We'll see what it's really talking about. So
right.
um, I think sometimes we give it a couple years we start being like, nah. I mean, he might have been out of line for the joke, but he also didn't. He took what he should have got from the joke and kept it moving. Like he didn't. He knows he took the brunt of what comes with the business. Like he wasn't. I haven't seen anything that's like, oh man, he's so traumatized. He had to go to a psychologist and psychiatrist to get some medicine. It's like, man,
Yeah,
I've been slapped before the comedy show. Like,
man.
like
I mean, and,
this is
and
par
truth
for the course.
and truth be told, it's like you said about something earlier. So we get those training units from home. He probably been hit harder than that by his mama.
It's been a minute. He's probably like, it's been a minute since I've been slapped. But when I say a minute, maybe 6 months. Like this man goes through divorces. This man travels across country. Like, I mean, I know we like to think that people are not getting accosted like that on the regular, but Chris Rock has lived life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, his life is
Hmm.
different now, but he's lived life to the point where I'm pretty sure this wasn't his first slap. This wasn't his first time somebody put their hands to him. And he probably was like, "Oh, I had this been a while." Um, and I think that he kind of had that moment when he says, "I'm like, oh man, like this is a moment I never thought I'd have, but look where I am now. Look,
Well, goddamn, I'm rich as
I'm
hell. Still getting
man,
shit slapped at me.
I was just thinking the other day that I hadn't got slapped like that in a minute, and now I'm here on the Oscars hosting, and somebody comes slap the fire out of me,
Like,
and I
in the
thought,
hell going on? The fuck? Is it
yeah,
somebody tell me who left the gate open? But big shouts out to my LF in the building. Said oh, happy birthday. Hey.
hey,
If anything, Chris Rock should consider this a blessing. He's about to be extra booked right now. Oh yeah.
hey
Oh yeah, like
man,
I said, that's three shows that's gonna be here. Ain't no telling what's gonna happen when he hit the other major cities. And then we
absolutely.
ain't even talking about the smaller places like when he go to Columbia, South Carolina, or Amarillo, Texas, or Buffalo, or
That's the part of this new era that I have a hard time with, like the, hey, any attention is gold, like you know what I'm saying, like. No, I mean he could have done this without it. I think Chris Rock would have sold these shows out regardless.
oh, these are actual facts.
He has a career that stands
We talking we
beyond this.
talking
Like
we talking 30 plus years.
I was telling my old lady, I was like, man, everybody's making all these memes about like more recent Chris Rock work. I was like, have you seen I Go Get You Sucker? Like, come on now. Like Chris Rock
Oh
got a whole bunch
man.
of he got a
How
whole
about
bunch of
I,
old work that
I
fit.
just want one order of
Hey,
ribs. No, 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 no,
hey,
no.
listen,
One rib. I sure am hungry.
listen, man. And I feel like if you haven't seen movies like that from But you don't understand black comedy and the tradition of black comedy if you don't understand that. Because one thing in black comedy that we have a love hate relationship with is how they make fun of us. Like we don't mind you poking jest at us from an authentic place, like the overgold and so on and so forth. Because that was like poking fun at Mr. T as well as the community for just like, no, as soon as you get a little bit of money, y'all getting full figurines, y'all getting all the
Oh
change you
my,
can. I
right.
remember it. I lived through it.
I was there.
So, but you aren't making me a monkey show to the dominant culture, and we've come to different places, with that, and um, like I know it's a we like to think, any attention is good attention, but I think he would have done it without it. I think it's more it's inconvenient, and he knows Hollywood. He can't stop this kind of monster from going, so you might as well just ride with it.
Right, right. And that's the thing, I remember seeing Chris Rock on Beverly Hills Cop 2. Was like, yo, I get $10 for cars, $20 for trucks. What the heck is this? And he pulls
Man,
up to the Playboy Mansion in a cement truck.
like I feel bad because again, like Hollywood is one of those places that you kind of gain and lose friends because your homeboy that you had for decades might pull this on you because his career going bad and he
Facts.
need more compensation for a show that he got over here on the side. And it's like, bro, you could have told me and we could have had this authentic moment and I'd even, boosted your show, but you came up here and had a moment on my back, what I'm
Hmm.
saying, that might have
At my
damaged my credit
at my expense.
at my expense. So that's
Hmm.
why I'm like, nah, yeah, Chris Rock gonna be straight, but like this was not about him. Like he became the butt of a situation
More so the
as a
ass
result of
of
it.
it.
Yeah, like, hey, bro, I was just up on stage hosting the Oscars, man. That's what my whole night was about. Um, Other people got jokes. I maybe make jokes didn't, have the same, detailed history and understanding of, the diagnoses and et cetera. I mean, I didn't even know. Like, people don't know people's, medical history off the cuff. You know what I'm saying? But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think he just happened to deal with a situation that he was thrust into.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, going back to that, that's what led me to my other theory about that, because I mean, like you said, they were friends. Like Chris Rock was on Fresh Prince, I think twice. It's two different characters.
Right.
Part of me just looking at it now, and I'm just talking about from the physics of it, just from the physics of the whole thing. That's what leads me to believe it was staged.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about somebody who's been in fights and knows the little bit of a science on it. One, we talked about earlier, Will Smith is standing about a good 6'3", 6'3" and a half, possible 6'4". What you give him by 220, 215, 220?
I can give him 220 to be respectable.
220 to be respectful. Chris Rock is all of what? Maybe 5'9", a buck 30, buck 40.
I'm gonna say he above 55 because he gained kind of old man weight and then he losing.
Okay. Okay, yeah. We'll throw in a dad weight and give Chris Rock 155. Now, somebody who's 6'4", 220 hit somebody that is 5'9", buck 55, he's gonna at least stagger, if not fall.
Right.
Chris did none of that. It was and I watched a lot of wrestling growing up. I watched a lot of wrestling.
You know about
Like,
the kayfabe? What you know about the kayfabe?
oh man, I'll put it to you like this. For people that know wrestling terms, that was not a shoot, it was a work.
Right. Right. If anything, hey man, I used to go to the like poor. I'm from North Carolina, man. I'm from the wrestling country. Vince McMahon
Facts.
is originally from North Carolina. I've been
Facts.
to low budget wrestling where it's like, no, if you're trying to sell something, like, hey, we don't practice it. Just know when it's time to do it, you need to like, yeah, we can have like, yeah. One thing I learned about wrestling is like, yeah, it's fake, but when you hear me slap the shit out of somebody, I slap the shit out of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, no, no. You heard that chair clap. Now there may be ways we learn to protect ourselves, but when I smash that chair on that dude head or smash that chair on their body, there's no way to fake that.
Right. And so to see him totally standing there braced and all he did was and I'm like, no. There was no stagger, there was no lean back. He didn't hold his face once.
Hmm.
And then here's the key thing that was missing from the slap. Was the slap. see what's those words in English? Onomatopoeia, where the word and the
Hmm.
sound are one and the same.
Hmm.
When somebody gets, you hear that. What did we hear? We heard the mic.
Right.
We heard the mic hit. We didn't hear the ha, because what would have happened? That mic would have picked up on that clap, and it
Yeah.
would have sounded like a round of applause had he hit that man for real. So now my next question, adding on to that theory, is what's the end game? We staged this. We staged this to come up here. What's the end game?
I just watched this movie, and I supposed to say in response to this is we're in the end game. Everything we've discussed is the end game. Um,
Speak on that.
prior to this moment, we're talking about people like the pandemic has shaken up everything. Everything post pandemic is going to seem like a different world, similar to Thanos snapping his finger, because we're looking at people who we project as extremely wealthy doing things that we would think they would never do, but their money has been affected. Like everybody's money has been affected by inflation, the lack of activity, um, and being able to do do shows and make appearances to make this kind of extra money to keep your revenue stream going. Um, so I believe the end game for both of them is just what we're doing now, which is discussing Will Smith and Chris Rock and this situation. One's gonna go to a red table, one's gonna go on a comedy tour. Um, we'll try to juice this for what it's worth. That's one thing with a lot of stories and events from Hollywood, you gotta just watch them juice it for what it's worth. And when they start seeing people tired of it, they'll sell it again. Like there's nothing that we're gonna just throw away. They'll resell it until nobody wants
Oh,
to
man.
buy it.
Come on now.
So
Come on
I
now.
feel
What
like
up?
to
What
answer
up?
your question, we're in the end game.
We're in the end game. Okay.
Hmm.
And see, oh, big shouts out to Stella. What up, Beef? To our Pookie from New Jack City. Yeah. Chris been around. But one of the things that I was my thoughts on it was the fact that the Oscars haven't been relevant for a long time. And
That's what I thought.
and for us, they haven't been relevant for even longer than the long time I'm speaking of at first. We have Oscar moments.
Oscar
We
so
have
white.
we have the moments like Denzel in Training Day, Holly Berry and Monsters Ball, even though we really shouldn't count that. That was fucking terrible.
I
That
mean,
should have been
if we're not gonna count that, we can't count Training Day.
shit. Why
Just
not?
just
Training
just
Day was fucking awesome.
Training Day also recast was the same casting of the black male image, and rather than riding off in the sunset, he still dies at the end.
True. But reason why I would keep Training Day as opposed to Monsters Ball is because Training Day showed the versatility of Denzel. We saw
It
him
did.
in a whole nother character that's like, well, can Denzel play a bad guy? And the answer was yes. And he nailed it.
Let me ask you a better question: does
Uh-huh.
Halle Berry and Denzel both get fucked in their roles?
Did
By
they
the end of the
both?
movie, do they both get fucked?
I like how you did
There you go.
that.
Then there's your answer. Then there's your answer.
Yeah, but her movie was bad though. That shit was hard to watch. Like it really wasn't good. And outside of those 4 minutes that everybody in here, if you were a male around 18 and up, between what was that, about 2003, you say? 2003,
If
2004, Monster Ball.
you're a black woman of the '90s, watching Training Days End was hard to watch.
But if you're a black male, finally getting to see Holly Berry naked. Hey, I've been waiting on this. I've been waiting on this since Strictly Business. Like, like I'm here now. I made it. But yeah, that movie was bad though. God damn, that movie was bad. But outside of that, then you have, you fast forward to about '06, 3 6 Mafia wins an Oscar, a rap group from Memphis wins an Oscar. Like that was big. Um, I think it was bad because Taraji actually tried to sing live that night.
Hmm.
Like, it's hard out here for a pimp was not just the how you would say crescendo of well-written music. It's here. It's here. But to try to sing it live, knowing that you're an actress and you sung
Yeah.
it for the movie for authenticity, but you sung it at the Oscars though, it was bad, but at the same time, you know what? Taraji, enjoy your shit because Hustle and Flow, great movie. Good hood classic. I love that movie.
It's a decent movie.
Yeah, it's a hood classic. You know what I'm saying?
It,
It
it's one
sits
of the
on.
movies. I'll say it like this: it's one of the movies the Oscars picked up. The Oscars has a very queer history with what they willing to recognize from us. So
Mm, well,
um,
I mean, pimps,
they didn't pick
drug
up
dealers,
they didn't pick up
hookers,
great debaters.
rappers.
They didn't pick up. You know what I'm saying? There's other films that have a certain grittiness or a depth that we know from our culture deserve Oscar attention, but there's certain movies that this is why it wasn't relevant to us. Going back to what you said, it wasn't relevant to us because it's
They
not
don't.
recognizing the best of us.
No, they don't pick our movies. They pick movies with us in them.
That's not necessarily, and I, Hustle and Flow. I'm not sure who that was catered to. When you look at the time period in which it was released, I always it was pre Precious, or I can't remember how it laid out, but it was around the time like
It was pre Precious because Precious was like '09.
so they
Hustle
were
and Flow was
to
like
me they were
'06.
priming us up for a certain kind of gritty black movie that why now do we need to show this kind of Memphis pimp tale that we in the 2000s now.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the climax and point of the movie? Like what was other than just following this rap career? It was like a Memphis 8 Mile. Like what was really the
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like what was the point of the movie? What was the point of the movie other than showing nigga shit?
Well,
Oh, that's the movie the Oscars pick up, by the way, and make sure they give some esteem to. So we got beef with the Oscars already.
true. This year was Will Packard trying to make this a women empowerment show, and nobody really cared. So throw is we don't talk about Bruno's, which didn't go over great.
Right. So the whole point of the show that everybody's watching, so all the attention that what she's saying is everybody who was really watching was really waiting for the song from Encanto. Like we don't talk about Bruno was the kind of song that everybody was really watching to see. So the Oscars was already like Oscars was grasping for straws anyway.
Mm.
I feel like Oscars and the Grammy should always be something that should be trying so hard to get people's attention because their main audience don't really rock with what they like. The main audience for the Oscars and Grammys are going through a certain cultural shift that, if we all being honest, it's not on it's not being kind of middle of the road liberal. It's going back to the trailer park that you're talking about. It's going back to the heritage kind of talk. You know what I'm saying? And hey, that I know what time it is on that one. Like we've gone through. We're post Trump, but we're post Trump only in his years are over being in office.
It is
You know what I'm
over.
saying?
Right,
So
right.
um, since they're going through that, like we're not really looking at that. So people were really watching this with the hope that they're going to see their Disney show song, and you know how they do. They dangle that fruit to the end, and then by the end, you didn't even really want it.
Nah, nah. You had an eight already. Hustle Flow is one of my favorite. Yo, LF is one of my favorites too. But in looking at that movie in the sense of direction, really didn't have one. It was more of a hodgepodge of like
That's the
a
worst
pimp
part.
becoming a rapper in Memphis.
The worst part about being a doctor is liking certain things that we indulge in, and also knowing how damaging they are to either our cultural image or just being able to also think them through and know some of their implications. So, um, nah, I mean Terrence Howard hasn't necessarily been a banner for positive black male image in his movie. Go figure.
Eh, yeah,
So
yeah.
um, he doesn't take on roles that necessarily always exalt us and hold us to a high esteem.
Nah, a lot of times Terrence Howard takes what they offer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. He's the main guy. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? He says main a lot. You
hmm
know what I'm saying? So
I
why
think he
not
got I think
stay?
he got caught in that role a little bit, but that's neither here nor there.
Right. So Stella asks, why not stage a possible issue between two black men white Hollywood hold in high regard? Um,
I
I
think it's
mean,
I think it's I think it's easy pickings, bro. I mean it's one of those things where um we have a certain draw when it comes to these nigga moments. So I worked in schools before. Go figure. And um when my girls are having nigga moments, it does draw a certain crowd, but it has to be a certain type of girl. You
and
know what I'm saying?
schools are training grounds for nigga moments.
Listen, it could be two black males who nobody knows, and this moment right here is gonna be what they know these niggas for. I know these black men for, and I hate to say that. Like I hate to say that. Like this moment here, this nigga moment here, is what
Is
gonna be
what
what we all know them for
what they're
from
gonna be known
high school
for.
on.
Mm-hmm.
So like nah, like they you choose. sometimes Hollywood in America. Let me go ahead and say Hollywood is a very American machine.
Absolutely.
They go back to the old school stuff that they know. It works like what Coach Boone said. Hey man, it's like Novocaine. Give it a little time. It works.
It works.
When you wouldn't have, if I'd have told you before the Oscars that this was going to happen, you would have been like, nah, I don't even believe it. But two black men in a violent situation is old as day when it comes to Hollywood depictions.
But I mean, that goes back to buck fighting.
It's old as day as in American depictions of black men. So if this was orchestrated, you do it because the well is always wet.
They
For people to
always.
watch black men,
Mhm.
I mean, box. Everybody's been telling me boxing is a sport that's going down, and I'm like, it will. Let me tell you why it won't die. Poor men, especially black, brown men, black men especially, beating the hell out of each other. Who ain't gonna want to see it?
It'll
We've been
sell.
expanded it now to UFC where we got different forms of men and now women beating the
Hmm.
hell out of each other. It's something that
Right.
people, for some reason, want to see.
Oh yeah, violence will always be a seller. Violence, sex, drugs, and violence.
I
That
mean,
that's gonna
you
sell
could have
where
had
the
a
cotton and
moonlight
corn grow.
situation, but you wouldn't have gotten the same. That well isn't as wet as the black male plus violence. Like that
Which
is
one?
that
Which
is
one is that?
the moonlight, the black man kissing other black men
Oh God.
situation. If he would have been
Yeah.
showing him this kind of love that teetered on homoerotic kind of love, it'd been fine. It's the Oscars. I wouldn't have been like, oh man, I didn't expect Will Smith and Chris Rock to have this kind of moment. But it wouldn't have gained this kind of esteem. Like
Nah.
it would have been a
It would have.
certain
It would have
follow population,
been a Michael Sam situation, basically.
right? Like
Hmm.
people would have had come to task about what they feel about Black LGBTQ rights, QIAA rights, but it would have been, oh man, what does this mean for the whole Black community? We got to really talk about this, like. And you got to remember, this is Will Smith and Chris Rock. It got to that because it
Right.
pulled from the same wet well of black men plus violence.
Black men and violence. That is a ship that will always sail, which is a
Man,
damn shame.
my thing is, why did they go all the way? Why did they at least have the security come out and try to separate them? Like they could have made this
I mean,
Hollywood.
a whole
Who
Jerry Springer
my
theatrical
oh
moment.
man, oh my goodness. You gotta somebody's suit got to get unbuttoned and disheveled a little bit, and we would have
Right.
all been into it even more.
Right. Now, I mean, if you're gonna sell it, like I said, Vince McMahon don't fuck around with it. Like this
Mm-mm.
should have been one of those, Vince McMahon, Dana White situations where,
See,
oh, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it and let's put on a production
yeah,
to
they
where
gonna bring in Vince.
they gonna be talking about this for a minute. Like, it's gonna be security up there, it's gonna be some pulling. I need to hear lots of profanity getting thrown around these mics. Like, we
Now,
gonna
if The
sell this
Rock would have been up
thing.
there, I think people would have caught on to it. If The Rock would have been up there, I think people would have been like, "Wait a minute, hold on." The Rock can take a punch though. The Rock is really known for this kind of like kayfabe. And kayfabe is um, I don't want to say the wrong Japanese. I think it's Japanese. I think it's Japanese kind of art of
Hmm.
wrestling where you kind of it's an art form that they've used
Right.
to fake this violence or more wrestling for audiences. So man, I mean I've heard the fake theory. I'm still on the thing of fake or real. They're presenting it as real, so you were supposed to approach it as this is what they would say happened.
Yeah. I say and to add on to that, I say fake or real. It's one of those things where when it comes down to that dollar in Hollywood, we're gonna, the nigga moment affords. I mean, the dollar affords nigga moments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they can buy and, if need be, set up nigga moments.
Well, for us who come from Black American culture, nigga moments in Hollywood will always intersect. Hollywood and music will always intersect because um, it pulls on it's the beast. It's trying to feed you this kind of egotism and chase of the dollar through egotism that you're gonna find yourself fighting over your name, fighting over your image in a way that some of us when we do it in our kind of hamlets or towns, it's kind of like, man, don't nobody really know you. You think everybody know you and your woman because your women don't want you think everybody know you and your lady because she done stepped out on you and nobody know. Like
Nobody
sometimes you
cares
have to
either.
remind people, don't nobody know and don't nobody care.
Don't nobody care.
So part of like even when we ask the question like, man, it's a blessing for Chris Rock or a blessing for Will Smith is like, well, when you look at like celebrity right now, post pandemic, people are doing really crazy things to get attention. I've been really, as an educational psychologist who
Hmm.
studies motivation, and you got to get people motivated to come see movies, to come buy albums, to listen to things. We've seen some really wild and crazy things that I've questioned. Is this just for attention during a pandemic that's hard to get? Like people really focus
Yeah,
on living, wearing masks, you know what I'm saying, figuring out how they can go to school, go to work, do their live their lives,
trying to bring a sense of normalcy.
trying to bring a sense of normalcy. And now here you go come with a movie or comedy special that like while they want to rock with it, it may like, no, let me keep going what I got going on right now. So you got to glean attention to these things in whatever way possible. And I think we're starting to pick up on Hollywood doing some crazy, crazy ways of gleaning attention. And I'll tell you after the show one of the other ways I feel like Hollywood and music are gleaning attention. And it's similar to this where you like, is it real? Is it not real? Um, again, fact will be stranger than fiction with all these things.
I mean, yeah, and that's the bad part to where like we have to exaggerate to the point to where it's fictional. Like
Yeah.
you think like something like this would come out of fiction, but it's
Well,
happening in front of us though. So that
when
has
you
to make a fact though, right?
when that's what makes it so factual. Like it makes it factual because it's so manufactured and it's so stranger than like I'm saying, fact is stranger than fiction. That we're like, no, we really saw people manufacture something into that had real outcomes. They made people real, made people real money, had people really um, writing papers and having emotional, conversations with people around them about what this really means for a man to hit another man in front of his woman for his woman's honor. You're having all different type of conversations from something that could have been, a skit. You know what I'm saying? For all we know. So
Mm. And we talking about full fledged manufactured nigga moments. I feel
that's
like
that's that's another level to it because I always thought you didn't have to manufacture those. Those just come
I
naturally.
I feel like now we're in trouble as a people. We're in trouble as a people and as a culture when they start manufacturing nigga moments. Because, like you said, nigga moments that need to be manufactured, they kind of grew and blew on their own.
Right.
But now,
I know we've been in this era for a while, but I think Hollywood's tapping into it. Um, I think that's the problem we see in certain spaces that we both intersected in. That there's a certain you're here for my entertainment element that is popular amongst different populations of people.
when it
Um,
comes to us,
I want to, yeah, I want to say young people, but no, no, no. We're even seeing anybody who engages with cell phone technology culture that sees it as an entertainment vice will, and especially like World Star Hip Hop is one of the main ones that I know,
oh yeah,
will see that like, no, you and your life and the stuff you go through is just here purely for my entertainment.
right,
So,
right.
you
And
know,
World Star was home of the nigga moments.
and that's why I couldn't rock with it. Like early on in the like I was a teacher and then a graduate student, and people used to always try to be like, man, I just be on World Star Hip Hop all day, and I'd be like, oh my god, bro, you're just taking in the worst of who we are. I have a theory that World Star Hip Hop induced more nigga moments because it existed. Like people, like you start hearing the calling, and then just be like, "Yo, like I don't even think we would have this many moments if it didn't exist and existed as a place to even elevate." So not only do we have escalation during the event, now we have an elevation of you may get some more clout or notoriety by
After the
being
event.
involved by being involved in a nigga moment like this after the event. Oh
Right,
my
because the
god,
thing is, before the cell phone, nigga moments were a place of embarrassment. But now,
right,
but it's one of those things you will see this right here in the midst of a nigga moment, folks recording it, and then after that, this thing is what he said turns into a nigga catastrophe. That was in
right.
like the third episode they did that on. But yeah, like, and it gets crazy, and it is one of those things. It's like now the cameras are out,
And now
and
you
it's
can manufacture T-shirts and all these kind of merchandise and stuff that spin off from you having this moment in a way that prior to now you wouldn't have had these kind of avenues. That's why I say I have an issue with people using just any attention that has been garnered by them in their lives to somehow flip it into a profitable situation. Like
Right. But
I'm not always from camp. Turn your mess into money, kind of like no, I'm not
but
always.
but while you say that though, one of the things that we always knew this controversy breeds cash.
Yes, yes, yes,
It
but
shouldn't be because the thing is that's what leads to the cooning, the bucking, the shucking. You know what I'm saying? Because they were willing to pay you for it. But one of the things that I was thinking about as far as just the Oscars, and we even mentioned the Grammys earlier. We should have been gotten off that train.
oh yeah.
Of I mean, the things of trying to ride that train, and they had us in the back. They had us in service, and I'm speaking, metaphorically, obviously, but we should have been trying to get off that train and build our own set of railroads and build our own train and ride it because it's like now this is what we're doing for white acceptance.
Well, I mean, we've always attempted to do so. Like, there's nothing new under the sun that we, as formerly Negroes and colored folk and African Americans and whatever you want to call us now, we haven't been short sighted on wanting to do those things. Tulsa is only a indicator of what happened whenever we did those things. So we are, as a people, almost like forced into a prison of we have to engage with your system because if we try to create our own, you burn it down, you terrorize it. So we got to force and bogart ourselves into your system. That's what I understand by after being a history major and really reading like what our people were up against. Like no, 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 no.
Right.
We've already thought of all these other ways to not be where we are. The reason why we still are where we are is because we're being put there. We can't get off this
Mm,
train because when we want to like I think we can get off the train as a community by not engaging with it. But
exactly.
whenever we try to, do the like you said, do our own thing, et cetera, et cetera, we have our own thing with the NAACP awards because you
NAACP
see how
awards. I was just gonna bring that up.
yeah, you see how like is the NAACP still the organization that it was in 1909
Hell no, it
or
got the word colored
1950?
people in it still.
But hey, all the same, it's not working for colored folks. It's not working for the people who were colored once at
Hell,
this
it ain't
time in the
evolved work
same
for damn
capacity that it
neither.
once did. Like the NAACP used to have some real clout, bro. The NAACP used to be at the Supreme Court door knocking stuff down all the time.
Right.
Um, Even when it comes to media in Hollywood, they're not necessarily showing a certain rallying cry in the same light that we possibly once had. So um, it's not that we're not doing these things, we're not trying to have our own. It's understanding that the space in which we have to operate under, even a space that we could think that they would induce to black, wealthy, you know, high esteemed in the acting field and comedy field, black men to do something like this purely for clout. Like that's basically what I'm saying. In the pandemic, you're gonna be watching your superstars do things for clout that you think only influencers would do. Only
Hmm.
people who are trying to get on, who used to try to get on, different shows like your local radio show. You're going to be seeing them do things that I can't believe he or her would lie about this or would do this event or would be at this place. Well, hey man, they went through a pandemic too. Some of some of some some of them just need activity to maintain their status.
Right.
Showing up at different events, you can get appearance fees. Was maintaining some of them.
Right.
So the residuals are not what we think they are. What we're seeing a lot of times is the rubber meeting the road for a lot of them financially.
Hmm.
Their accountant calls them and be like, "Hey, listen, you need to do something because at the rate that you're spending and your expenses, you're not going to have enough by the end of the year or next year.
And the lack of
You
income.
right, and for them that could be a 2 to 5 year forecast. See,
Right.
when you wealthy, yeah, it's not hitting you right now. You all good right now, but when you already know 5 years from now you're gonna be selling this house, selling all those cars, you need to start working now.
Hmm.
You need to start getting those residual checks. Like, no, they're remaking Bel Air because what those Fresh Prince checks really look like at this point. We're not 30, 40 years, and like we got people on TikTok showing you their residual checks. Drake is showing you residual checks that's like, yeah, I'm getting $8 from that now. I can't live off of this. Like, yeah,
Wow.
you must have to keep being productive in Hollywood because they will remake your stuff, and now that drops the value of it because now there's a remake out there.
Mm. Yeah. Controversy breeds cash. And I guess they
Okay.
need money too, huh?
Mhm. I mean, And this is still the Roman theater. This is still the Greek, the Roman and Greek Colosseum, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, right. Yo, man, big shouts out to Dr. Brewington for coming through and dropping that jewel on us. Yo, Keena Martin, what's up, shout? She said black excellence. Damn right. My new favorite thing. Got another comment coming in. The curtains being pulled back more and more, but the powers that be don't want the masses to pay attention. Yeah. You know what? I don't even think it really matters if they paying attention. It's like, they want you to more so see the show. There's a show and it's being played out, and they do want you to watch it. Because that's what's gonna turn into those hashtags. That's what's gonna turn into those memes. That's what's gonna have those social media posts jumping. The Oscars hasn't been talked this much amongst Black America since what 3 6 Mafia winning.
or just the Oscars being so white. So we went through a certain period where people were complaining about the Oscars being so white, and certain movies not winning, getting the accolades they should have. So, um, but I do agree that like a lot of the curtains being pulled back, I think people are starting to get like I'm not. I never think that I'm the only smart person in the universe. That when I think of something, that I'm the only person that's figured something out. I think other people are figuring out as well that there's just a certain attention machine during this pandemic. The pandemic is not over. During this pandemic, that people are using that they're jumping higher than they ever jumped to grab your attention. They're doing things even beyond. Like I said, I can't wait to tell you after we get off of the streaming. Like no, we got some real dangerous levels of people jumping out of buildings, if you will, to gather attention for people to support them during a pandemic where every dollar that you have, everything that you have around you has been, accounted for, and you trying to see how it can maintain your life through this kind of period of time. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right, right. Keenan Martin said, "I watched the Bel Air show, and it's not all that, but to each his own." I still haven't seen it, not because I
Yeah,
didn't want to watch it. It's just uh, I don't have a Peacock,
right.
so
Yeah,
uh,
having all these streaming services to see that these new shows is also something.
it's a something.
It's a
Oscar
something.
viewership at mentions went up 150% due to Slapgate. Well, I mean that was to be expected. Like, and I really feel like that was the motive. It's like we as I would say this level of black folks or whatever, we didn't tear the TV up to go watch the Oscars.
No.
Anything else on, we finna go watch that. Whether it be March Madness, whether it be the new season of Power, we finna go watch that shit. So
Hey
now
man, I got
hearing
on
about the
Carolina Blue for us being in the Final Four. I hate Oscar and Grammys because primarily as a sports fan, a person that watches stuff that is mindless, just to take my mind off of stuff.
mhm.
Normally during those nights, there's no sports going on. None of the major like Lakers are not playing. You know what I'm saying? Like sports
Right
sometimes will take a back seat, so you have to really find something to get into because they try to not compete with stuff that they expect
to lose
America.
to.
Yeah, but
Right.
America. Don't get me started. America lies about a lot of things. We have a lot of things in America that they'll tell you. A lot of people watching this. This is why it's on TV. And when you go look at the numbers for real, they know they blowing smoke.
Oh yeah.
But that's again part of the reason why they went back to the black men hitting each other is because that was a well that we know we can get people come watching this.
Hmm.
If we get one black person, one black man hit another black man, I hate to say it, I don't think black women would have had the same effect. But then again,
Because
this had a, like a black community kind of feel to it, and I don't know.
I think with black women that particular part of the machine's been driven in the ground with the reality shows.
Okay, okay, I can hear that. I can respect
You know
that.
what I'm saying? Because out of all the years I've seen the reality show, I've only seen maybe a couple of guys get into it. If I know Stevie J and Lil Scrappy got into a fight once, and hell, they friends like a motherfucker now. So there's that. But you watch the Housewives, you watch Love and Hip Hop, you watch the
Bad
Basketball
Girls
Wives.
Club, that was my heat.
Oh, Bagger Club, they used to fight what every episode, give or take.
But one thing you're speaking to is um, this really still kind of fit into the reality TV because there was not a whole lot of response. See, when I started watching reality TV, I started realizing there's a cultural difference here because when my black woman would be on there, it was like She can't walk up to me and just smack me and expect me to stand here in this recap show or whatever we're doing like nothing's gonna happen. I'm not gonna stay in the house with this chick tonight after she slapped me at the kitchen table and not get like nothing happened to her. She gonna just be able to sleep restful tonight and we talk about it tomorrow. No, that's not gonna happen. So
And it's
um
funny that you bring up the reality show, the recap shows. I'll never forget this one time. Stevie J and Jocelyn are sitting there, coked out of their fucking skull. Jocelyn, Stevie J got a problem with Benzino, which means Jocelyn got a problem with Benzino's old lady. She's walking by. They done did hair and makeup. She's walking by to go to her seat. Jocelyn jumped up and attacked her. I'm just like, well, that escalated quickly.
so even the one thing we haven't talked a lot about in this episode has been like the frequency of nigga moments on TV that we've lived through. So our threshold and our definitions of it and our sensitivity to it. Now, I'm not a person that plays respectability politics because again, I'm gonna be the nigga in the moment more often than I'm the nigga watching it. So I have to always remember, like, no, like it's not, it's not common, it's not good to be in these situations. But reality TV and that era of reality TV violence has really feasted on people wanting to see black men and women being who they think we are. And again, the well is always wet when it comes to especially men being a part of that. Yep, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
TV is stupid. Shit. Fight
And
what happened. Start what
anytime
the
I've
people
ever
have to
seen
stand
them
out.
go astray, so
Character.
anytime you can see them knowing something like, no, that person. I remember when the guy was it Andre when he slapped that girl in the car
Oh, on Real World?
on Real World. That's when you knew, okay,
Damn, you took it
somebody went off
back.
script. Somebody went off script. There's
And
been a
people
couple other times where,
in wrestling,
um,
we call that a work.
oh
No,
man,
no,
there's
no,
been
no.
a couple times when,
We call that a shoot in wrestling. When it goes off script, that's a shoot.
right, right. There was people. We've had some reality show situations that were shoot, and they've gotten better, over the years. But still, when you're scripting people being violent or damaging people's property, because I remember Bad Girls Club had a situation where these girls damaged these girls' property, not knowing this was all luxury designer, one of one kind of property. And
Hmm.
have you seen a Bad Girls Club recently? Any
No,
promos?
no.
Shut that shit down. Right.
Bad Girl Club on Tubi now, y'all.
Right. Shut it down. Shut it down.
It's on the
So
free
like
app, y'all.
so like people are using, racial stereotypes, especially about black folks, to sell their shows. Especially in reality TV. So um we may have a higher exposure to it in a way that we don't have the same feeling that maybe our parents and grandparents had about the image of black people and black community on television and TV or screens for all to dine in. So that's what my beef with World Star Hip Hop was. I know my people know how I can go find this anywhere. I can see this if I'm just in the community. I
Hmm.
just don't like that Brad and Brent and Sarah and Katie can just type in World Star Hip Hop and find this kind of stuff and all of a sudden believe or affirm beliefs about who we are as a people. Now I don't really care what they think. I can really, I don't really necessarily care what they think, but I don't want them to even have access to this because it's a what they like to think is a window into who we are. No, you got to come meet us to get to actually know who we are.
Right.
That's just me.
And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. But even beyond social media, just media period. I mean, I remember when VH1 used to show alternative rock. I haven't seen a video of music on VH1. What we talking, like 15, 20 years now?
Man, I don't know. I don't know if anybody who used to do music videos even shows those things anymore, bro.
Damn.
I can't remember the last time out there. Like, does BT have a music video show they still do? Like last I heard was 106 in Park, but I think that was rebooted or redirected. MTV, TRL. Like most of the
TRL, Rap
like
City, Video
these
Soul.
these spaces have been existing off of reality TV for a minute now,
Yeah,
just
that's what I'm
to
saying. I would
just
have
to
said
stay
at least
afloat.
I want to say at least 15 years is that's all you get on there is reality TV and Baby Boy.
So if you getting
They're
so if
probably
you
showing
getting
Baby
boxing,
Boy.
so if you're doing boxing UFC light, that's how you know you have poor quality programming because you have to really rely on like knee jerk human reactions for people to be entertained. Like it's Real World is the originator. That's one thing that people forget. Like this, it started from that place, and
We'll take
Real World
seven
wasn't.
strangers.
Yeah, Real World wasn't everybody's bag because it wasn't it wasn't generally appealing. It was kind of this reality TV show culture started from like alternatives. MTV, you gotta remember at one point in time was counterculture. It wasn't the main thing. It
Right.
was this kind of like alternative rock, alternative like you didn't even see a whole lot of hip hop on MTV. Like hip hop kind of moved
Hip hop
MTV.
had their 1 hour at midnight Friday nights with Yo MTV Raps.
See,
You had 1 hour a week.
so we know the history. So um, I believe Real World took a minute to get like culturally, and Andre might have been one of the first ones, and it was kind of like, oh well, I'm not sure we can keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like it took a while.
I want to say it was the season with Tammy. That was the first time we had a producers had to break the fourth wall moment. And I
Right.
don't know whether that part was scripted to where look, we're gonna make this look so real that people really buy into it. But that season of Real World like really had us in. I want to say that was either season 2 or 3. Part of me wants
I
to say
think I think
three.
at that time we weren't in a place where they would have scripted that much.
Mm-hmm.
I think like we were still in a place like it's hard to imagine the '90s right now, just being a moment of clarity because there's a certain quote unquote authenticity to moments without the cell phones being the first thing you reach for. Like, no, no, no. Those guys with those big, like the cameras were huge back then. So like even the people to stop the moment had to be other people who they had to kind of, hey, you're an assistant to this moment. You a production assistant or somebody who's been getting coffee. But because the people who are really getting paid got cameras and big stuff on them, we need you to come in here and break this fight up for real.
Right.
So even to break the fourth wall, I was like, that was like a nah. This is we're gonna find out after this is a moment that people saw as such a big moment that we'll do this in other shows to maybe recreate this moment. So that's
Right.
what
Right.
Hollywood does. Hollywood again, blood suckers. So if they see an authentic moment, like bruh, that's why they do the sports movies. They see a moment that people love, a story, and we're gonna suck this story dry. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
When we get done with this story, you're gonna even be recognize this story again. It will be a fable you never you can be a tale you never saw. So I believe that they at that time during Real World, that was probably we saw way more authentic network TV responses to we trying to do this, you know, real world scripted but not so scripted show. Um, and this is what it's turned into. And I
Right.
think VH1 took that model
Mm-hmm.
and they were the laboratory because VH1 is kind of like you got to go find that channel. They were the laboratory for a lot of stuff. Them and what was it, Big Brother? You remember, Big Brother been around for a while.
Big brother, right.
Survivor,
Big brother,
Survivor, all that
survivor.
kind of stuff. Yeah, they were I think VH1 was the training ground for some of the more music and entertainment reality shows.
Right. And when you make it
Flavor of Love.
manufacturers, oh my god, I mean surreal life. Like you start from the surreal life and how that spun into strange love and then the
Hmm.
flavor of love. That I ain't gonna lie, I was there for that train wreck every Sunday night.
Bruh,
I ain't
it
even
was,
to sit here and lie to you.
but I also was at a certain time period in my life that I didn't know no better.
Yeah, that's true too. It was I but Friday Sunday nights I was there for that train wreck. Oh my
Yeah, it was
shoot.
crazy that I saw like when you went through that history. I felt bad because I saw everything that went into Flavor of Love. So by the time Flavor of Love is hitting, I'm off the train now, and I'm like, I can't believe y'all people watching this stuff. I
Oh no.
cannot believe y'all are watching this stuff, and I
I was
watched everything that led up to it.
I was on that train going 90 miles an hour, going downhill with the
Hmm.
oncoming coming up at about another buck 20. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I was there for that head on collision.
Because
I
that
would have
Strange
stuck
Love, whenever it was a Flavor and whatever
Brid-
that
Bridget
Bridget,
Nielsen. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, bruh, this all came from surreal life. So that's again, this was hip hop dining in or starting to figure, what can we go back through our machine and look for different pieces to put something together. People are not really, people are figuring out what Hollywood's all about, and we're having a hard time keeping this machine going. And hey, we got so many channels now. We got these loose pieces. Let's go see if we can put them all in the bucket. And now you see where we at, man. We got people whose entire careers, entire notoriety, and where they're able to gain acclaim is from this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like they haven't really done anything. but they were a part of some show that, hey man, they had the same kind of Will and Chris moment, and that for now gains them notoriety and opportunities thereafter. It's really
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah, it's a mess, man. But it has made people into celebrities. Like
Yep.
literally, like what's your claim to fame? What's your talent? Oh, I was on season such a what's the name show. You seen me, right? Or I mean, God forbid you look at like Cardi B. Cardi B spun it off into a whole rap career.
Right. And that's how you know we are in some troubling times as a historian, because we have people who we're gonna look back on this maybe 10 years from now and be like, remember those two big movie stars slapped each other on stage? We should have known that something, politically or more material was coming, because these two people who seem to have more money than most of us were doing things to gain notoriety and more money, that people like me and you might do just being at the Little Caesars down the street, trying to get our Friday dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Try to get that
no, bro,
$5
I'm in
joint.
line, you in line, and nah, you didn't understand it. I slapped the mess out of you. Now you get it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We didn't expect it, but as I said before, the pandemic shifted everything financially for everybody. So people are
Hmm.
willing to do things and participate in acts that, hey, I didn't need that money in 2019.
19, but
19, I had just done a movie that you didn't watch, but still brought in 2.7 million.
right.
Okay, I was straight. Now I haven't done any movies in the last 3 years. Two they went by fast. You know what I'm saying? I haven't done movies in the last 2 years, and I have nothing as far as appearances, speaking engagements, nothing for nothing for nothing.
For
So
nothing.
I need somebody to start saying my name again. And
And you would think this came after the King Richard. So let me ask you, like, and I haven't looked at the numbers. Was King Richard not a financial success?
let me ask you another question. Going back to my well is always wet when it comes to this too. Um, Highlighting and elevating black men on screen, is that something that Hollywood really get like sells major tickets for? You think if Black Captain America would have saved Infinity Wars and Endgame, the movie would have sold as many seats? No, people would have told people, "Hey man, the nigga Captain America is gonna be the hero in this," and it'll plummeted. Like, America is
I don't
that's the
know.
part
I
of
mean,
America that we have to change. We have to change that America wants to see black men and women in the same roles that we've always been in, and the same kind of visuals and stereotypes. Like, we should at this point be our stomach somewhat turned from seeing very stereotypical images of us
I'm gonna be honest
as
with
a
you.
country.
I'm there with it as far as like slave movies. I'm so tired of slave movies.
I see that. That's not what I'm talking. See, slave movies are historical movies. Slave
And
movies are movies that
but I
are
mean, and the thing is, this history isn't a secret. Do we have to keep rehashing that part of it? Because
well, people.
our history didn't start with slavery. Our history is so old and so rich, it can't even be predated. So let's get back to let's talk about
I,
the
pro- I,
fly
pro-
shit we did.
I promise you, if they drop a Holocaust movie right now, and this would never be said.
I
This
wouldn't
would never
watch it.
be said, because but that's the thing. Like, you have the option not to watch the slave movie, but
I
slave
don't.
movies are particularly for people who want to keep denying the institution. Like, to me, slave movies is what America's not on the German plan post World War II, which is what we about to do is we don't need the slave movies as far as the culture, but we end up getting them because you won't see it in school. We're not gonna tell you the truth in school. Now, if I told you the truth in school and showed you a film in school like Schindler's List or something like that, but about Black American slavery, I'll make room for us backing off of making those films. But I can't back off of it until I know people are seeing the realities, accepting the realities, and making sure that our country moves in a certain way that is indicative of your understanding of those realities.
Right. I mean, and ironically enough, where I saw Roots at when I first saw Roots, it was actually in school. We
Right.
watched like a part a week, well, a part a day, and it took us a whole week to get through it. But I saw Roots in school.
And the slave community is, and I say community in a particular way from
I say
studying
like,
it and working in a museum,
uh huh.
is the most peculiar, weird, institution and heinous institution America's ever had. So
Facts.
there's been
Facts.
no one movie or documentary or anything you've seen that has done all it needs to do about that institution. And one thing that I've been grappling with is um, these spaces were like being in different countries. So a nigga in Alabama and a nigga in Georgia are having two different experiences on, and possibly even hundreds of different experiences because of the different places and principalities that you would be in. So
Mm-hmm.
literally, if you got moved from one place to another, you felt like you went to an entirely new place because of the rights and responsibilities that you may have been afforded in those certain slave communities that might have been in Virginia versus North Carolina or Georgia versus Mississippi.
Right.
And
I mean,
um,
because you had different laws in different states, and then plus also you had just a different culture as to how they ran the place. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, and that's basically what I'm speaking to. That
Right.
and those things are still indicative of how the states run today. So when you think
Mm-hmm.
about how Black people look at Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and going up to the South Carolina, North Carolina, we kind of know the dexterity and spaces in which Black people can move and operate. So part of the reason why Atlanta and Georgia and Texas and Houston and Dallas move a little differently is because the white people in the space like a certain wild westness of how things move. So it creates a lot of opportunities for Black people because in Atlanta and in Houston, we can make business and economic moves that the cultures of the other spaces don't allow that kind of wild west movement. If you can make it happen, it can happen.
Let's say I did not see slave movies in school, but I see Diarrhea and Frank.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I mean, it's one of those things where I'm a historian, and history was my undergraduate major. I worked at the History Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, I've been to the same place of being inundated with, like the museum I worked at was a plantation. So every day I was going through as a big Black man a mansion of the 17th of the 18th century for the person for the one of the most important men in Charlotte Mecklenburg County. But my comfort with it became, man, this is the weirdness of these people intermingling in this kind of agrarian farming society. You gotta understand how tough that is. Like, no. You didn't just ask me to kill something. You had to come out here and help me sometimes because every plantation wasn't huge. Like
Right.
only everybody
Right.
that wasn't running, everybody wasn't running Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Some people had a small business, and
Right.
then in small
They had
businesses, like your supervisor got to come out there and give you a hand too. You know what I'm saying? Like you,
these are facts.
the person who's paying you might be out there cutting the grass with you. So that's hard for us to imagine when we start thinking about the slave institution and the slave community. So it's really just a. I went on a diatribe about slave movies. My bad, but like we need
No,
to
it's
see more
real.
of those kind of movies
You
because
said
of how.
you said you want to see more of them.
Hey, I want to see. I want people need to know our history. Like that's the one thing I'm never gonna be tired of. Like there's not been enough Black American movies about Black American folk. There's so
But
much history
but and
that
and and with that being said, there is so much history. There's so much more history than that part, though.
no. But what I'm saying is they haven't even given you the enough history in that time period even for us to understand to go forward. I think we can do it all, but I think they're even. Why is it not a Henry Box Brown movie? You know what I'm saying? Like that's a movie that would have to take place in the slave community. But you haven't seen a Frederick Douglass movie, have you?
Hell no, I don't think they're gonna do Doug. They
Because
should.
even when you start thinking about black cinema and black film, Frederick Douglass would be one of those like Goodwill Hunting, kind of like um, what do they call those films? Like it's like a these are like psychological. These are long films that like it's not gonna be no shoot 'em ups. This is gonna be real
Nah,
monotonous a little bit, but it's gonna be about like I said, Goodwill Hunting and there's some other movies like that. There's just like, nah, it's just a straightforward. Frederick Douglass learned how to read, became a great black person, bro. Like this is just black American. This is just the story. You're gonna see him go through those things, and there's not gonna be a whole lot of debates and bells and whistles to it. So
nah. It's not gonna be exciting. It's gonna be 110% informative, if anything.
yeah, I'm here for more Black American historical films, and that of course includes slavery. I'm not a person that's ashamed of it. I didn't put myself in chains. I didn't put myself on a plantation in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, or anywhere else in this country. So I don't have to answer to why it happened to me. I just want people to never forget it happened to me. I
Yeah,
don't
I
want
mean,
people to forget.
oh, keep
People
going.
haven't paid the bill on it. Listen, hey, until you start paying the bill on it, then we can stop talking about it. If
So,
you don't want to see
so
no
they
more
still,
films on it, pay the bill.
hey, they still owe on that, right? They ain't pay the bill.
Hey man, and the bill keep going up the
Bill
longer
ain't
it's
going
due.
to.
So until you start putting something on it consistently, like one thing that I think our ancestors did a great job of is not only talking directly to America, but also talking to America in the international community about if you are who you say you are, stop tucking your tail and make sure that you're taking care of who we are because we were here with you too, doing a brunt of the work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you saying you are the land of opportunity is really you passing on opportunities that you have now taken from us. Until we
Right.
are whole, we should not be even seen as a land of opportunity because the opportunities have not been afforded to us.
Nah, I mean they never. It's one of those things to get what we got. You have to take that a little bit.
So
Take
I'm not gonna wash your hands of the dirt that you did, or
no,
showing the world the dirt you did.
and it's not about what I'm saying pretending like they didn't do it or looking the other way on it. It's more so I feel like that part of the drum has been beaten till there's a hole in it, but there's so many other parts of that drum that we could hit. I mean, like you said, you bringing up, what I'm saying, Box Brown and Frederick Douglass, but shit, like Langston Hughes, or what I'm saying, somebody from that 20th century
You
that was.
cannot you
Mhm.
cannot pull us away from the slave experience. Langston Hughes' grandparents were slaves.
I mean,
The people who
possibly
would
so
have
were mine. Well,
yeah
not
the people
grandparents, but
who would have shaped him in a major way to even influence the Harlem Renaissance would have been people who may have not had an education that gone beyond a certain point. That's
right,
the point. To me, even having films about that meshing period, they do a terrible job about it. So um,
well,
it's something that we always need more films that give better context to events that we've had before now. So the remaking of Roots was a great addition with modern technology and modern aesthetics to help people understand why what happened. It helped kind of recast it again.
I,
So
I
what we
see.
don't want to happen is the losing of that kind of understanding of what really happened, how heinous it was, and what the debt is to the people who still are being affected by this institution. Like without conversations and the historical understanding of slavery, it's hard to understand Jim Crow and to understand where we are today.
Right, and but I'm just more so as far as my movies go in particular. At what point do we, like, if we stay on slavery and we stay rehashing slavery and it happened, and it's interesting that you mentioned the remake of Roots. To be honest, I had forgot about it. I didn't watch it. I didn't have a desire to watch it. It was one of those things, like I said, I feel like that has been beaten in the ground. Not necessarily, I don't want to necessarily say move on from it, but we take, you have to take the past, learn from the past so you can move on to the future. When do we get to the move on to the future part?
We skip the history, so we oftentimes moved on to the future with the black exploitation flicks
I I,
and
I think we're
and
still
what
doing the history. Like, we're
no, no.
still doing the same
What I'm
history.
saying is, I think we fast forwarded past the history, and every time we get a slave film is actually like a why we have to do this because we now fast forwarded beyond that. That stuff is we see is being done already, but when you really start laying down how many films about slavery there are, it's really not that many. And when you compare that to the images of us from black exploitation on, you got to remember, even prior to black exploitation, we're just bojangling through these movies.
Oh, and
You know what I'm
maids.
saying?
Don't forget the maids and the cooks.
Right. So, like the image of us, we don't have a like. I don't know why we keep having this idea that there's an esteemed image of black people in modern film. Like, so why do we want? I don't want to see us in slave movies again. Like, nigga, you just got out the kitchen. Nigga, you just stopped being the dumb. Hey, boss, you want me to put the stuff on the horse? You just stopped being that to be a brute in a more refined fashion. Let's talk about. I mean, I go back to the real Bad Boys. That's just police propaganda with some black male brutality, brutes kind of stuff painted over it. So Hollywood's going. What I'm saying what about the slave film is Hollywood's going to do their versions. We need more films that are going to try to do honest work about slavery and thereafter. If you can do honest work about slavery, I know you can do honest work thereafter. But if you're having hard times with conceptualizing us during slave times, you don't understand us thereafter. You have a hard time. Like there's so
Right.
many. I agree with you in the sense that there's more stories thereafter. Um, but we're gonna disagree with the oh man, the slave film. It's like, nah, I understand they tough to watch, bro. I'm a historian and I'm gonna tell you, 12 Years a Slave turned it on, turned it off.
Which
Not because it
one?
was bad, but
You talking,
because
you talking about the original from the '80s, or you talking about the one from
the most recent one, the most recent
Okay,
one. You know what I'm
okay.
saying? Like I listen, it's not easier for me as a person who even read up on this stuff and did, my degree in it to
Hmm.
dine in it, to work at that place. Like there'd be certain days I'd be like, man, I really don't want to do the tour today. And they would respect that because it's kind of like, no, to be disjointed from it would be insensitive, would be, what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that the film should be um, something that we want more of all the time. You know what I'm saying? Well, I want more of it, but I don't think it should be something that I'm like, oh man, I'm going to love this next slave movie to come out. It's going to be about X, Y, and Z. But when you really start digging into Holocaust movies, man, there's all different types of Holocaust movies. One of my favorite ones is called Life is Beautiful. And it's not you almost forget the Holocaust is going on in the midst of the movie because it's about a father and son playing a game to save their life. Like the whole point of the movie. And they go through all, and you see everything start happening. They go to concentration camps and everything. But that's the backdrop of a film that's about the connection between the father and the son. Why can't I get that about American slavery? About it ain't got to be just father and son. It could be kinship. You know what I'm saying? Kinship care. Some cousin or uncle or somebody that's not really kin to this kid having this genuine connection during the time period. Why can't we get something like that? It don't have to necessarily be focused on the heinous heinous parts of slavery. Yeah, people gonna critique it because it didn't
I'm about,
show it all
I'm about to
central.
say, yeah, hell, slavery
But
itself
hey,
was heinous in
but
itself.
that's the reason why people avoid it. People are avoiding what it really was, which is both heinous, but also a community that built America, which is crazy in itself. It is, but you have to show that to even move forward. Like America has been doing this thing of, well, we'll just keep brushing this under the rug, and it's not something you can. We now have whole cups and bowls under this rug at this point, still filled with whole food in it. Come on
but
now, like
but let me ask you: do you really think it's swept under the rug, though?
I do, I
Mm.
do. I think it's something that the longer and longer we go through next, future generations, um, I can respond to that with a question, which is, do you think we have the same cultural pride in the Black American kids today that we would have had in the kids of the 80s and 90s?
Say that one more time.
Do you think we have the same cultural pride in our teenagers, 13 to 18 today in schools or today in general, than we have from the kids of the 80s and 90s?
Hell no.
And part of that is a product of just a film like Roots. Like Roots, you heard comedians, people talk about, nah, man, I heard my people talk about slavery and stuff like that, and that my people came from this. But then I saw Roots one day, and that
Hmm.
Kuta Kinte scene really kind of fucked with me.
What, with the
And like,
foot, or with the when they changed his name?
choose one. That's what I'm saying. Like, choose one. You know what I'm saying? Like, if and not in the sense that you have to go through these kind of racial identity process, and that's a psychological process of understanding not only yeah, there's gonna be initially an anger about it, but no, there's some more emotions and understanding that come there after that. But I can't say you don't need to have that. I think in America, one of the things that kind of helped me navigate America is having that kind of cultural understanding of who I come from and who I am, and that being connected to my experience day to day. But again,
Yeah.
I,
And
I
the
agree
thing
with
was, it's like with movies though, particularly around the time when we grew up, like, Roots is only 10 years older than me.
right,
So, even by the time I was coming of age, Roots was still a relevant thing. We had Shaka Zulu.
right.
TBS used to run that. And then Malcolm X
Oh,
premiered when
oh,
I was like fourth grade. Malcolm X came out. Being from Atlanta, uh, Martin Luther King was just that was a staple in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Every King Day, I'm sitting there watching the sermon that the service at Ebenezer, which
right,
is so in me to the point now that, like, I feel weird on King Day if I don't watch it even now. You know what I'm saying?
Tradition.
So I get it in the sense to where like I got that said history. Um, how do you translate that now? I don't think the answer is make more slave movies.
I just think
Uh,
that there needs to be more narrative around slavery. We
just
don't have
slavery though.
no, not just slavery, but I think, like I said before, by doing slavery better, you're gonna do the other movies better. So we don't get when you really start thinking about films that they intend for black people. Some most of the slave movies aren't even for us. Like that's the thing. Like most of the slave movies are not for us to um, indulge in, if you will, or like they don't expect us to watch them. They think what you're saying is what they expect. Um, I don't think you can do other movies with a certain level of artistic respect, if you will, artistic dignity, without doing slave movies better as Hollywood. I'm saying as a macro. Like we need better slave movies consistently whenever you do slave movies before.
Consistency.
Right, right. Because like no, like between the fear to do them for the same reason you speak of, and I feel like because you're afraid to do that one, that's why we don't have a there'll be the boys movie or like there's some films that they're after. Let's go back to Will. Like Ali was a good film, great film, because of what they were able to show from that person's life. Um, they don't do that often with black film. They don't give that kind of depth to. I mean, it was supporting characters that had a certain depth. The Jamie Foxx and what's my dude Wright
Mhm.
played. Jeffrey Wright played. It's like shit. Like y'all really tried to make this film about Ali with some depth to it. You're
Right.
not seeing that with. What I'm saying from my point is you're not seeing that with anything, and it starts with slavery. So you're not seeing that with things that go from our time period now backwards. So if you're
Well,
going to start
just
doing it right,
the level of depth is what you talk about.
right, right. So to do anything in the modern, you're gonna need that level of depth that even dates back going to slavery.
Mm. I just feel like with too many slave movies, we're gonna end up stuck there.
That's what people always fear, but um, we don't know until we actually see ourselves. Like people said the same thing about the step and fetch it. My people are dynamic, bro. My people are dynamic, and they weren't stuck because they kept seeing that image. We've been shown stereotypes our entire lives. We fight those stereotypes just as much as we internalize them. So to
Some,
say that, so to say that
because
seeing
some people buy into those stereotypes and become the
right,
real life embodiment of them.
absolutely, but slave movies would not operate in the same realm. See, that's one thing that I'm trying to understand. Like we have enough of the other stuff. Like we get that. Some of the other stuff that we are not getting is the stuff that is rooted from things that are culturally rooted from slavery in America. So everything that comes from time period from thereafter is going to be rooted back into that time period. So I don't think we have as many. We talked about nigga moments at the beginning. I don't think we have as many slave films as we think we have. I think people are ashamed of slavery. I think people are embarrassed by it. So, because it hasn't been casted them as a holocaust of your own people or something along those lines, we're not, and we've been treated or exalted as the kind of people who survived that heinous community. Um, we have a kind of disdain for what happened to us that we don't want people to see it. It's kind of the same thing that happens when it comes to us in these nigga moments. Like we don't want people to see what our nigga moment was. Um, but why don't we want people to see America? Because it's not about just seeing us. And films are not only for entertainment. That's another thing too.
Well, yeah,
We assume as a community sometimes that all the movies are supposed to be entertaining, and that's why I was like,
no,
no. Think about Goodwill Hunting and um, what was the one that Antoine Fisher? That's what I was be forgetting the one. Antoine Fisher
I
with
fucking love that
Denzel, my
movie.
man. Like, no, that movie was not a movie that was supposed to be a feel good black story where Big Mama cooks dinner at the end and family comes and has a good hoo ha, and we play some OJs at the end family reunion, and we all get on out of here. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that kind of
It sound like
film.
you just described a Tyler Perry movie.
Now you understand why. Now you understand why I was digging my heels on slave films that we can do them right because we have enough of the other stuff. But don't get me wrong. I appreciate Tyler, man. I don't. I'm not a person that seeing his meteoric rise. I can't even hate on it like that, fam. I can't even
Nah,
really do
I
that.
mean, while the content wasn't always my favorite, it was just going from your car to that castle that he shot in the movie. Like that.
And 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 hey, it's a lot of black people he's putting money in their pockets. Now we talking about people talking about the money he's made people since he's gotten big. But listen, whenever we got the videotape in my house, we flipped it. We flipped it like everybody else flipped it. And I feel like everybody got at least a meal off of Tyler Perry. Everybody got at least $15 to $45 off of Tyler Perry getting them VCR tapes flipped. Come on now. He done put a lot
Man,
of money in black people's heads. So I have a
I
hard time.
cannot front on that. I can't front on that right there. Cannot.
So I'm just what I'm my point is balance. So we need a little bit more depth in black films, and I go against the we have enough slave films for that reason.
Right. So
But
Stella
we
asks,
off on a tangent. That's I done took you all off.
oh no, we good, man. So Stella asks, are the new generation understanding that they should use history as a stepping stone toward better or different versus something to mirror?
I think the current paradigm, especially with technology, if I was a kid today, and I was a kid in the early 2000s, you've been hearing that you're just a part of this kind of hodgepodge generation that stuff doesn't matter to you anymore. So for our generation, it was race. They were telling all our parents that race doesn't matter to us anymore. That we are a raceless kind of generation. That we don't see race and sometimes class the same way that they saw it because they were the kids of
Mm,
the 60s. So if you tell the kids of the 60s that your kids don't see race and class the same way, my mom saw me engaging with people and she thought it was valid. Like, oh, my son, he's exactly what they said he was. Like he's not really engaged. He's not seeing race in class the same way I saw race in class. Bullshit. No, no, mom. They were still doing the same thing to me that they had been doing to you. I just was not being hip to it the same way because they were telling you and me the same thing. So,
right. But
um,
I would say it was a little more blatant in that time, though. Like, I
right.
mean, when you see a sign that says "No niggers allowed" and a white man walks up to you and calls you boy, that's a
But they
little
also,
different than not. And it's I only say different. Let me not use that word. I would say it's a different side of the same coin. You know what I'm saying?
but these kids also have chat rooms and discussion boards and just online material that borderlines on hate. Like it don't even borderline. It's hate speech. You know what I'm saying? Like so, and how do they respond to it? So one thing I've seen is that some of the kids see it as normal, happen circumstance. They don't have any kind of. They're not being necessarily taught a these words and these actions and these ways of treating you have a historical, bearing
A reference
that
point.
you may have a knee jerk reaction to, just to even prepare you for what may come to you at school. So I wish that there was a cultural, pride that they still had, but I also have learned to appreciate that I was born in the time period I was born. A lot of those cultural centers have lost funding, have lost the people who need to facilitate the actual programs. Like, fungi lafia, that's something that a lot of us learn to, dance with throughout, our community. But who's doing that today for the kids, and what parents are making sure that kids get there? So there's a
Hmm.
couple different elements to it that I feel like are there, and they're missing in different parts.
Did. Now Robin said that's the privilege of growing up in a city like Atlanta. What about a place that doesn't promote their history in the same way? There are places that don't even commemorate MLK Day.
I mean,
I mean,
ooh,
I only know about what I grew up in. I grew
right.
up, you know, 10 minutes outside the city. You know what I'm saying, in Decatur. So I was here, and we had
I,
this. It was a mecca. You know what I'm saying?
I grew up in a city that's similar. Like, it's not as big as Atlanta, but Greensboro, North Carolina. If you don't know about Greensboro, it's the
Mm-hmm.
place where the sit-in movement gets started.
Mm-hmm.
Greensboro is just a major historical place when it comes to Black American culture. Um, if there's ever going to be a resistance to whatever's going on in America, North Carolina is going to be with it. We always with
Mm-hmm.
it. We always down since the Revolutionary War. So I I can't really speak to being in a space where there's not that cultural pride. Like we
That's what
had
I'm saying.
conversations when I was coming up about the KKK walking on North Carolina A&T State University HBCU campus, shooting the AK-47. So those kind of conversations are regular happen circumstance in those kind of spaces. That if
Hmm.
you're not from those spaces and you're just growing up with TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, you might not find the niche of a place to have that cultural pride. You might just think you are who you are, and I think that's really affecting our image. So I've asked like, why do black males who are teens right now cutting their hair the way they are? I think it's kind of a middle of the road. I can cut my hair similar to some of the people I'm seeing on social media, and
I think
those people
I think it's more
may not be black.
it's more so that loss of individuality, man. Like everybody looks the same now. They look the
Well,
same. Jordan
even a
skinny
cultural
jeans
loss,
and the same haircut.
even a cultural loss is what we're speaking to, where because you've not been taught about the cultural hairstyles. Like I was taught about the cultural hairstyles of the men for using family, church members. Like, no, all these men have different ways they wear their hair. So I saw older men in church who had cornrows, older men in church who had ponytails, older men in church who had the clean cut bald head. You know, the different hairstyles that went into this is who we are as Black American men.
I know
I'm not sure they're
I know
seeing
for
that
a
same
fact
space.
that dude had that ponytail, probably had a pinky ring too, didn't
Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
he?
Come on, baby. Come on, but he had the long pinky nail. You know how it
You know
goes.
what I'm saying?
Oh,
That's
so I
real,
mean,
man.
learn about culture through really exposure to your people and um, like we saw the internet from its bare bones to now, and so we had to actually be around people in a different way than
Hmm.
they had the opportunity to. I'm not blaming them for not being around people. They grew up in a society where people I
They
can
didn't.
stream the church. I don't got to go to church this
They didn't
Sunday.
have to be around people, right?
I ain't got to be around people,
Because
so I don't
truthfully,
know.
the internet was a chore back then. I'm talking about like taking the phone
Whew,
cord out, sticking it in the back of the computer. Then your auntie called. There goes your connection.
Brett,
Like,
you got to remember what you're speaking to is a time period where your auntie calling you was more important than you getting on the internet.
oh hell yeah, your
So
mama
it's not
found
like
out
you
she
why
missed
why
that
you
call if you want
why
to.
you clogging up communication? We got a whole weekend we trying to plan because you're trying to be on the goddamn internet. Excuse my language, but you trying to
But,
be on the damn internet? Like,
but oh hell
come on
no.
now.
You said we might be the last generation who were taught to be about the culture and be an individual at the same time.
Yeah, I've Miss Stella, I've thought about that a couple of times. I don't want to say we're the last generation, but because there's still parents and children who are out there who are getting it, but it's getting smaller. So I was blessed to have the opportunity to not only get it from home and the community in Greensboro, but also go to schools that like no, going to the school culture is rooted in the Black American culture that we have created here in the city and in America. And we're gonna speak to it very directly. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Without unabashed, without being unashamed about who we are. You know who you come from, and you know who your people have been. So you got some great things to be doing going forward.
Exactly.
Um, I do think that we have some work to do as our generation of adults to make sure we're not the last generation, and that's what I need to be doing.
That's on us.
Yeah, that's on us.
That's on us. Now that I agree with. That I agree with.
Just because they um, going back to why we were talking about the slave movies, they're in a community that is being so inundated with information and multimedia that having more just increases the propensity and the number increases the opportunity for them to be exposed to it. Like, no, we can't bank on the blockbuster 12 years a slave anymore. That one film that comes out every 5 years, we can't bank on that anymore. We need to have like a slave series. We need to have other stuff that no. If you cool with it and you already had your exposure to it, you ain't gotta watch it. But for this kid to not watch it, or this person in their 20s not watch it, or even person who's much older who, man, I don't really like watching this stuff. I need to finally watch it so I can understand what people are talking about. It just need to be available to them.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is here. You know, we're in an information age where most of those movies I named earlier, if
Yeah.
they're not streaming, I probably own them.
Right? Right? I'm hey,
It is a highly likely. Like I collect documentaries. So
again, there's been a lot of good work.
hmm
I don't think the work needs to stop just because we're not. as far generationally from that time period.
We're not
Um,
still.
Even if you
Still.
know Jim Crow just stopped yesterday,
Hmm.
and it turned into mass incarceration. So like the Black American
Hmm.
story is very dense and complex, and there's not many parts of it. We got parts to celebrate because we know what parts to look at, but there's not gonna be many parts of it that's not gonna look just like slavery, just because of how America has treated us and how America, with the bill still being due, continues to treat us.
Oh yeah, definitely time to pay your tab. And now that I do agree with. It's time to pay you. It's
You gotta at
been
least put
time to
something
pay your
on it.
tab.
You gotta at least
Right.
put something
I
on it.
mean, y'all motherfuckers ain't even called for a payment arrangement. Give me a date.
I mean, you sending our money, you sending the money to Ukraine.
Hmm.
I have a theory, and this is just me, since we've been all over the place, but
We here.
American ingenuity has been stifled because they have been doing this. Like America keeps getting to these certain corners that only allowing us to be our full selves in America do we save America and we move forward. So whether it be with inventions and technology, like people don't understand how George Washington Carver like saved America, like saved America with his inventions. Like we don't really undersell him so often, but it's like no, like America got to certain places where the farming culture and all that kind of stuff was about to really shut the whole thing down.
Go hit the wall.
And because you have now allowed Negroes to go into colleges and universities, and yeah, even with all the challenges, still make our ways. We're I hate that we're in this position where we save America, but that's the kids that we're worried about not having the cultural pride will be the same kids that save America to move us forward again, if
For the
given
for
the resources
for
and
and for
opportunity.
America to do the same thing to them all over again.
Man, I don't like to think of it as a vicious cycle. That's between me and whatever Lord you serve.
Hmm.
But hey, I believe I have a black radical imagination, as Dr. Kelly would say, that we're supposed to do our part. Like
Yeah.
that's what the Buddhists would say. I don't really understand. I don't know what the cycle is supposed to be. I don't know, but we're supposed to do our part in making sure that the culture gets passed down to the young people who will do the work, and they'll be at the same crossroads that we're talking about, and they're gonna be wondering, should I do it? Should I not do it? They're supposed to do their part. Even their part is in failing. You're supposed to do your part in teaching the generations or doing whatever you're supposed to do for our culture, and leave it there.
And the famous words of Inspector Deck, kick the truth to the young black youth.
That's it, man.
There it is. There it
That's
is.
it.
Well, yeah, we have definitely broken a dope record tonight, y'all. We at about 2 1/4 right now.
Ooh, ooh.
Doc Brew, anything else you want to leave the people with, man?
Hey, man. I enjoyed this conversation. We went everywhere from Will Smith to Chris Rock all the way to do we need more slave films? So anytime I enjoy, I look forward to doing some more work like this, and even this in the conversation talking about the cultural pride that our children have has got my brain stirring on some things I could be doing for our community. So
Yeah.
yep,
Or penning that idea for another show.
yeah, man, yeah, man. You know it.
Definitely, definitely. Dr. Brew, you already know, man. Look, as long as there's a chair right there, you got a seat, man.
I appreciate you, brother, always.
Not a problem, not a problem, man. Y'all don't know what it is, man. Wednesday nights, quick 30, Friday nights, right here at the Dope Show. Um, Follow me everywhere. Dope Enterprise on Facebook, Dope Enterprise on YouTube, Dope Dot Enterprise on Instagram, man. Remember, I leave with the same quote. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. That is Dr. Brewington. I am DJ Agony. This has been Dope, and we out. Peace.
Peace, peace.